My beloved, I must urgently speak. There's no time to delay your alignment. I see how you've tried to stay steady, how your chest tightens at night and your soul trembles in hidden corners, wondering if the next moment will break you or bless you. Do not waste another breath on the unsure ground of your understanding. Anchor it in me now. Anchor it like your survival depends on it, because it does. I am not calling you to casually trust me. I am demanding your full surrender of every inhale and exhale. The winds of confusion are about to intensify, and if your breath is not synchronized with mine, you'll find yourself gasping in chaos. The world around you is speeding toward panic, but I am preparing you to move in peace through the midst of it. This anchoring is not metaphorical, it's survival. When the next wave hits, many will drown in the tide of their own panic, but those whose lungs are filled with the breath of my spirit will float on peace no storm can sink. I need you to stop rehearsing what went wrong and start inhaling what I have already declared right over your future. I have spoken victory. Breathe it in. I have spoken direction. Don't miss it by holding your breath in hesitation. Every heartbeat that moves forward in fear is one step out of rhythm with my plan. I am not trying to inspire you. I am trying to prepare you for what's already knocking at your door. The enemy is counting on you exhaling faith and inhaling doubt, but I am commanding you to reverse that cycle right now. Draw your breath deep from my presence, not from the polluted air of panic the world offers. This is not just about staying alive, it's about living fully, purposefully, unshakably. Your next assignment depends on your ability to remain grounded in me even when gravity feels distorted. Trust is no longer optional. It is the only currency that purchases clarity in this storm. Anchor your breath in me, because this urgency is not imagined, it is divine timing colliding with your readiness. And I need you ready. Now that you've drawn stability from me, it's time to press ahead. Do not hesitate. What once looked narrow, risky, or even impossible is about to be stretched by my unseen hand. While others fear the terrain, you are walking on ground that I am actively expanding in real time. Yes, with each obedient step you take, I am clearing unseen traps and dissolving obstacles laid by your enemy long before you even knew this moment would come. Don't be surprised that you suddenly sense more space where there was pressure. I'm opening up a divine runway beneath you. Don't look down in doubt, look straight ahead with determination. You are not stumbling into the future. You are being escorted into it by the commander of heavenly armies. What used to trip you no longer has legal access to your stride. I've revoked the enemy's permission to hinder your movement, and now you must move with intentional confidence. The delay was never in my plan, it was permitted for preparation, but now the clock has shifted. The path ahead is not what others walk, it is carved specifically for your calling. I'm not just giving you space, I'm giving you direction embedded in that space. This widening is strategic. Every foot of progress now holds influence, and every step you take shifts more than just your surroundings. It impacts generations. That's why hesitation must be buried now. If you linger where I'm no longer lingering, you will forfeit divine timing. So take this seriously. I am not merely offering opportunity, I am demanding advancement. And I need you to know this: every demon that tried to box you in has been exposed and humiliated. That claustrophobic season was a lie. It wasn't your portion, it was a test. And you passed. Now you're walking not just on cleared soil, but on sanctified ground prepared for deliverance and destiny. But hear me, if you try to pull along old weights, you will trip. If you try to drag voices that doubted you into this expansion, they will become snares on this sacred stretch. Leave behind what no longer fits the width of this season. The space I'm giving you isn't for crowding, it's for clarity. Move forward boldly, because I'm walking before you, smoothing every edge, stretching every boundary, and lighting every unseen curve with my presence. The pace you move in now must match the urgency I'm breathing into your spirit. Slow walkers will miss the gate. This is the path you prayed for during your wilderness nights. Don't second-guess it now. Every time you question whether I saw your struggle, this wide-open path is my answer. Yes, I saw. Yes, I responded. Yes, it's time. Don't keep your gaze fixed on what's beneath you now. The ground has already been secured. I need your vision elevated, because I'm not only guiding your footsteps, I'm unveiling realms ahead that require you to see beyond logic and past limitations. I am shifting the skyline of your life, painting futures into view that have never been glimpsed by your natural eyes. As the morning of your destiny breaks open, I am inscribing your name on territories not yet entered. And I'm not writing it in invisible ink, I'm engraving it with eternal fire that no shadow can erase. You've been looking behind you for too long, searching for validation from those who never carried the authority to define you. But what's rising now is not built on their understanding, it's shaped by my eternal design, and it includes positions, roles, and favor that you didn't even think to ask for. These horizons are not illusions, they are invitations. I am not teasing your soul with unreachable outcomes, I am revealing the start of your appointed rising. Lift your perspective now. The atmosphere is shifting for you, and you cannot afford to have ground-level sight in an hour that requires altitude. As I realign the heavens above your life, do not be surprised when old ceilings break without warning. You were never meant to stay boxed into the expectations of yesterday. That chapter is closed, and your future is standing on the edge, waiting to be spoken into. Let me do the talking. Let me call out what has been dormant. Your next promotion won't come from the hands of people, it's coming from the wind of my spirit, pushing you forward before any resistance can organize. Look beyond the now. I am staging divine connections and aligning unfamiliar places to recognize you the moment you arrive. This is why I urge you to look up, not in fear, but with anticipation. Stop preparing for decline. Start preparing for explosion. My hand is already ahead of you, lighting the sky with routes no one told you existed. And they are not just open, they are ordained. If you keep your eyes low, you will miss what has your name written in eternal ink. I do not give previews for entertainment, I give them as assignments. The glimpse you're seeing now is the beginning of your next mission. Pay attention to the direction of the wind, the weight of the word I've spoken, and the unusual hunger I'm placing in your heart. It's all proof that the next level is no longer theory, it's happening now. While others brace for endings, you're stepping into my sunrise. Do not return to your former frame of reference. You are not the same. The skies above you are not the same. And what you're about to walk into cannot be understood with yesterday's measure. Keep your vision elevated, because I'm not finished lifting you. The time has come to act with a boldness that does not wait for perfect circumstances. I am calling you into moments that won't wait forever. There is a sacred momentum unfolding, and delay is no longer a neutral act, it's a breach in obedience. Do you feel that stirring inside you? That's not anxiety, it's my spirit sounding the trumpet in your soul, declaring that this is the hour of motion. There are things I have placed in front of you that cannot be activated with trembling hands or half-decided hearts. You must decide now fully, wholeheartedly, with a fierce resolve that does not turn around when fear whispers. This is not the time for safe prayers or shallow declarations. This is the time for the kind of courage that dares to step before the floor appears. I am not asking you to be fearless, I am asking you to move in the face of fear, because true courage is born where comfort dies. Too many have stood at the doorway of destiny, waiting for a sign that feels easy. But I am not in the ease, I am in the urgency. And I say to you, if you keep waiting until you feel ready, you'll miss what's been appointed for now. Ready or not, it's time to rise. Courage is not a feeling, it's a choice. Every minute you spend wondering if you're enough, the opportunity designed to break your old limits edges forward without you. That's why I need you to run without second guessing. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. There are doors timed to swing open only when your feet hit the ground in faith. Courage activates heaven's rhythm over your life. When you move without hesitation, my spirit accelerates what would have taken years in the natural. This is why I tell you to gather courage swiftly, not because I want to pressure you, but because I want to protect you from missing your moment. Courage isn't always loud, it's often a quiet push from within, a whisper that says, do it now. You not silence that voice with logic. Do not allow analysis to become paralysis. I am not asking you to understand everything. I'm asking you to obey what you feel burning deep inside. This burn isn't just spiritual, it's strategic. It's me placing urgency inside you, because the harvest connected to your next step has ripened and won't stay fresh forever. I've already set things in motion, but your courage is the ignition, and I need it now. You're not too late, you're right on time. But hesitation wants to push you out of alignment by a second, a breath, a delay that could disrupt what I'm unfolding in perfect precision. Refuse to let fear negotiate with your promise. Let me deal with the risks. I just need you to say yes with action. There's no more room for almost. Almost obedient. Almost believing. Almost ready. Almost has never broken chains. Almost has never parted waters. Almost has never raised the dead. Only action does that. So act now. Speak now. Move now. Courage is not something you borrow, it's something you carry when you walk with me. And I am walking with you. Go forward before the hour passes. Now that you've silenced delay with action, extend your hand fully, without trembling. There is no time to wonder if you're worthy to hold what I'm handing you. The moment you reached for me in surrender, I began preparing this divine scroll, a sacred message written before you were formed, and I have preserved it through the fires you thought would consume you. This isn't an ordinary instruction, it's a royal decree, tailored to your exact path and guarded by angels who shielded it from enemy interception. But it will open in the hands of those who touch it with doubt. This scroll requires a grip that trusts me more than what it can see, a grip that when let go when opposition begins whispering again. I didn't place this in your reach to tease you, I am delivering it now because your spirit has finally matured to carry its weight. Do not fumble it. Do not question whether it belongs to you. I authored it with your name pressed into every word. The seal on it isn't just wax, it's the result of years of intercession, battles, tears, obedience, and transformation. It holds the next blueprints for where you are going, but the ink becomes legible only under the fire of your faith. The more you believe, the clearer the vision becomes. And that is why your faith cannot flicker right now. This is the moment where clarity unfolds as you dare to hold steady. Stretching your hand is not about physical motion, it is an act of alignment with what heaven has already dispatched. This scroll carries more than words, it carries release. It contains instructions that will unlock not just your next level, but the release of others tied to your obedience. You are not simply receiving something, you are being trusted with something eternal. That's why this moment is so sacred. It's not about your strength, it's about your surrender. My child, listen closely. If you keep waiting until you feel fully qualified, this scroll will remain sealed. Its contents will not yield to talent, logic, or effort. It only opens to bold faith. Not loud faith, deep faith. The kind that says, even when I don't see it all, I still hold on like it's already mine. This is the hour where faith must rise not from emotion, but from revelation. I want you to realize that I've never given you anything so holy without also empowering you to steward it. Stop questioning if you can handle it. I've already equipped your spirit beyond what your mind understands. What's written inside is sensitive and timed. Delay in reading it will delay what I've aligned to meet you. Your job now is not to analyze but to receive. Keep your hand out, firm and unwavering. You're not just catching a scroll, you're receiving an impartation of purpose, confirmation, and instruction wrapped in my authority. And once the wax melts from the heat of your faith, I will begin unfolding what has been hidden until this precise moment in history. Yes, the timing is that specific. This scroll won't be given again, it is yours. Now, because you dared to reach. So don't let go. Grip it tighter. The unraveling is beginning. Hold it tightly now, don't shift your focus. As the scroll rests in your possession, something deeper must awaken, your ability to hear beyond surface noise. There is a whirlwind of sound swirling in this moment, and not every voice that echoes carries truth meant for your ears. The atmosphere is thick with distractions, misdirection, and noise designed to destabilize hearts that aren't grounded in discernment. But you are not like the crowd, I've set you apart. What others perceive as confusion, I am transforming into personalized instruction just for you. Do not absorb every alarm that sounds around you. Many are diversions meant to lead others away, not warnings sent to shake you. While the world reacts in panic, I am speaking in patterns, showing you which direction to face when others scatter. I've tailored every gust of wind, every change in pressure, every atmospheric shift because each one carries a hidden whisper that aligns with your current assignment. But here's what you must know. It won't be audible to everyone. Some will miss it. Some will misinterpret it. And some will question why you move in confidence when they feel paralyzed. That's because I am filtering these winds through a prophetic frequency only your surrendered heart can catch. That's why your ears must remain uncluttered by popular opinion. There are voices trying to cloak their opinions as wisdom, but I haven't authorized them to speak into your direction. And if you confuse their noise with my truth, you misstep while holding something sacred. You must listen like your very movement depends on it, because it does. I am decoding chaos into clarity, but only for those who are tuned to me more than to their fears. Right now, the winds are not random. Every stirring you feel is me brushing away what has settled where it doesn't belong. I'm uncovering things, uprooting hidden resistance, rearranging barriers, and every shift is whispering my strategy if you'll slow down long enough to discern. You're not under attack, you're under alignment. Don't mistake turbulence for punishment. I am not trying to break you, I'm refining your perception so you can lead with precision in an hour where confusion is blinding many. Others will think you're walking into danger, but they can't hear what I'm telling you about the timing. I am not leading you blindly, I am equipping you with a sound roadmap embedded within each whisper of the wind. Every rustling leaf, every unshakable stirring, every sense of urgency you can't explain. I'm speaking through it all. But I will not compete for your attention. You must silence the counterfeit to catch the divine. Let them shout while you listen. Let them debate while you discern. You've been given the scroll, and now I'm giving you the interpretation, but it will be released in pieces as you obey each word I send in silence. Do not demand the full picture. Follow the current one step at a time. The next door will open when you've responded to the last whisper. This is not about hearing louder, it's about listening deeper. Let me be your translator. Let me show you what to absorb and what to dismiss. There's revelation buried inside what others overlook. While the wind may confuse the crowd, it will confirm the way for you because you have ears not just to hear, but to understand. Keep listening. It's not over, I'm just beginning to reveal what's behind the next wind. Now that you have received what others failed to perceive, it cannot remain trapped within you. What I've whispered into your spirit must now cross the threshold of silence and be spoken into the atmosphere. This is not about volume, it's about authority. The revelation I've deposited within your soul is weighty, not for display but for declaration. When you open your mouth with the force of belief behind it, the unseen realm begins to shift in your favor. There are strongholds built on lies that crumble at the sound of one unshaken truth. But if you keep that truth buried beneath hesitation, it will never pierce through the fog of deception surrounding you. I didn't give you this wisdom to sit idle. I gave it to you to confront darkness with light, and light doesn't wait to be invited in, it announces itself boldly. Speak what I've shown you, even if your voice shakes. Speak it even if it feels like you're alone in believing it. What you say when no one else is speaking holds more power than what's shouted from crowded rooftops. You have no idea how many battles are won in the unseen realm the moment my word, echoed by your tongue, enters the spiritual airspace. This isn't positive thinking or hopeful guessing, it's spiritual warfare activated through verbal agreement. Every word you speak in alignment with what I've revealed becomes a brick in a divine wall that no threat can scale. These walls are not meant to imprison you, they are fortresses of protection surrounding the promise I am unfolding. And that's why your words matter now more than ever. You can't afford idle speech or passive murmurs. You must speak with intentionality, because the spirit realm is listening. So is the enemy. He's not afraid of silent believers, he's terrified of those who speak life with unwavering conviction. Your voice is a weapon. I designed it to shape atmospheres, to shatter lies, to declare destiny into dry places. You've been quiet for too long. You've hidden your faith behind politeness. But this hour requires bold utterance. Not empty noise, but sound that's forged in the fire of revelation. When you open your mouth under the weight of my instruction, the air itself adjusts. I need you to stop rehearsing defeat in your mind and start rehearsing my word with your breath. Don't wait for circumstances to change before you speak, and the circumstances will obey. This is a sacred responsibility. I've trusted you with divine intelligence. Now release it into your environment like seed into fertile ground. Even if it looks barren, declare anyway. Even if opposition mocks you, proclaim anyway. Even if fear presses in from every side, utter the truth and watch fear shrink back into the shadows where it belongs. The truth you speak today will become the shelter you stand in tomorrow. That's why the timing of your voice matters. Don't postpone your declaration waiting for perfect peace. Peace will arrive as a result of what you've spoken. What you hold inside is not meant to stay dormant. Activate it. Voice it. Declare it aloud once under heaven's seal and watch the walls rise higher than anything sent to intimidate you. There is power in the sentence you're about to release. Don't swallow it. Don't doubt it. Speak it now. Now that the words have formed a shelter around you. What happens next is critical. Do not let silence settle again. You must now guard what I've deposited by feeding what remains unseen. Hope. Not the fragile hope the world offers, built on chance and favorable odds, but the unshakable kind that survives in barren places where logic says nothing can grow. The enemy's next tactic will be subtle, not to destroy your walls, but to drain your spirit of expectancy. He knows he cannot bring down what I have established, so he will try to convince you it won't be worth it, that the wait is too long, that the seed won't sprout. But I say to you, if you will guard your inner climate and plant hope deep where doubt cannot reach, you will see life burst forth in places others have declared lifeless. Hope is not a feeling you conjure, it is a force I cultivate in you through surrender. And it grows best when the skies turn gray and the winds threaten. Most give up too soon, confusing delayed growth for death. But the seed I gave you is not on their schedule. It has a divine clock, rooted in eternity, and the alarm is sounding now. Do not abandon your post. Do not uproot what you've just placed in the ground. You're not late. You're not overlooked. You're exactly where I need you positioned to protect something sacred. Nurture it like your life depends on it, because what will rise from this seed has the power to change atmospheres far beyond your own story. The storm doesn't cancel the promise. It activates the roots. What I planted inside you was made to endure resistance, and every drop of hardship only waters its potential. Don't be fooled by the stillness beneath the surface. Something is moving, expanding, pushing upward even when you can't see it yet. That's how hope works. It grows in silence, matures in darkness, and suddenly emerges in full color when least expected. But it won't survive in a soul that gives attention to every discouraging whisper. You must starve despair to feed hope. Shut off the voices that replay worst-case scenarios. Remove access from the ones who sow skepticism with casual words. This ground is too holy to allow thorns to nest. Guard your atmosphere like a greenhouse, controlling what enters so what's inside can flourish. Even the smallest shift in your inner posture matters. Every grateful thought, every whispered trust, every silent surrender adds strength to what's growing. The world looks for instant results, but I teach my children the value of incubation. You are not behind, you are inside a miracle that is becoming. And I don't rush what I value. I shape it carefully so it doesn't collapse under pressure once revealed. Your job is not to manufacture growth, but to remain faithful in preparation. Keep the soil soft through worship. Let your prayers be sunlight to what's still underground. And most importantly, keep speaking life even when it looks like nothing is happening. It's happening. Just not where human eyes can see. There will come a moment when what was hidden will crack through the surface, and those who doubt it will be silenced by undeniable evidence. But that moment begins with how you protect hope right now. Don't bury it with complaints. Don't suffocate it with impatience. Don't dismiss it when it doesn't bloom by your deadline. What I have promised is already responding to your persistence. Let the storm rage, it cannot undo what's been spoken over your life. Hope is your proof that I'm still working behind the scenes. Tend to it like treasure, because it is. Don't merely watch hope try to rise, nourish it, and do it relentlessly. It's not enough to believe something might grow. You must actively feed what is trying to break through. And I've already given you the substance to sustain it, my word. Not vague encouragement, not borrowed phrases from the mouths of those who lack revelation, but the exact, living, breathing power I have spoken into existence for this very season of your life. This water is not ordinary. It is not drawn from a well that runs dry in scarcity or delay. It pours from eternal reservoirs that never deplete and never withhold. The moment you release it over what's hidden inside you, it begins to dismantle the grip of every famine that has stalked your peace. You have to understand this clearly. No dryness can remain where my word is welcomed without resistance. The places in you that have cracked from pressure, from silence, from disappointment, they are ready now, not to collapse but to absorb. But only if you pour. You must not sit by and hope something happens. You must pour. Every promise I've given, every instruction whispered in midnight prayer, every line that struck your spirit like lightning, those were not random. They were hydration for what's been waiting in you to be activated. And I haven't run out of what you need. The problem is not the supply. The problem is often your mouth staying shut when I'm calling you to release what I've already deposited. Speak my word over what looks dormant. Read it aloud when discouragement circles your mind like a vulture. Declare it when emotions try to choke clarity. My word is not passive, it is sharp, targeted, intentional. It is the very substance creation obeys. The drought that has lingered around your emotions, your progress, your clarity, it doesn't fear effort or ambition, but it fears my voice. It cannot coexist with what I speak, and when you echo me, it flees faster than you realize. So do not be passive with what I've said. Use it. Saturate your atmosphere with it. Drench your thoughts with it. Let it overflow into your decisions. If you treat my word like background noise, you will stay thirsty in the midst of an overflowing fountain. But if you take every line seriously as if it were your oxygen, then you'll begin to see change not just around you, but through you. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are not waiting for me to act. I'm waiting for you to release what I've already given you to wield. Speak to your own soul. Water your own field. This is not about waiting on a sign. This is about using the source. There is no breakthrough apart from my voice. But the moment you let it flow, even the hardest soil begins to soften. Even the most withered roots start to drink. Even the most lifeless branches suddenly bend toward revival. You will see renewal if you will remain consistent. Don't sprinkle lightly, flood the ground with what I've spoken. Let it get messy. Let it overflow. Don't be tidy in a moment that demands full surrender. There is no such thing as too much of my word. It does not oversaturate, it redefines everything it touches. Pour it on your dreams. Pour it on your past. Pour it on your decisions. Pour it on your atmosphere. Every drop counts. And every time you release it, heaven responds. You're not imagining the shift, you're causing it. Keep pouring. The drought is breaking. Hear me clearly, this eruption of color in places once cracked and lifeless is not a coincidence. It is an urgent signpost shouting that seasons of deprivation are bowing to my decree. You must treat every emerging petal as evidence that wasted years are being reclaimed in real time. The ground beneath you, which once mocked your prayers with silence, is now echoing with life because I have commanded hidden reservoirs to surge upward. Do not scroll past these budding moments as though they are ordinary. Catalog them, celebrate them, speak them out loud, because memory of miracles fuels momentum for the next. You are standing on terrain that once swallowed hope whole, yet even now it can't resist my transformation. Let that alarm your complacency if the desert obeys. Surely your doubts must surrender, too. I need you documenting the details. The first fragrance after long stagnation, the subtle shift in air temperature, the way thorns are making room for green shoots. These observations will become weapons when the next chatter tries to persuade you that nothing is changing. I am redefining normal for you. Scarcity will no longer shape your expectations. However, new growth demands new stewardship. Blossoms are fragile while they are fresh. Protect them from careless footsteps of cynicism. Guard conversations so no reckless words trample delicate beginnings. The enemy will attempt to diminish small progress by comparing it to someone else's harvest. Refuse that distraction. A single flower in former wasteland carries more prophetic weight than an entire garden in fertile valleys. Magnify what I'm doing here, now. Let these blooms recalibrate your theology. Delay is not denial, detours are not dead ends, and dry spells are temporary arrangements subject to my override. Understand, too, that flowers are announcements, seeds are next. Where beauty appears, reproduction follows. This means strategies, resources, and relationships you thought were permanently lost are preparing to multiply. Stay alert. Invitations will surface that look insignificant but carry exponential potential. Accept them prayerfully and quickly, for windows of favor do not linger forever. While you marvel, keep tools nearby. What is blossoming will soon require pruning, fencing, and expansion. Don't romanticize the desert bloom. Organize for continuous cultivation. Draft budgets, adjust schedules, restructure priorities so you can host abundance responsibly. I won't pour new wine into vessels that still expect famine. Shift your mindset. You're not rationing crumbs anymore. You're managing overflow. And remember, testimony is part of stewardship. Speak publicly about every flower you witness. Your voice turns private victory into communal faith, and communal faith accelerates regional breakthrough. What begins as one blossom in your narrative could become a field across neighborhoods when others believe through your report. Finally, let the fragrance remind you that I finish what I start. A bud that unfurls proves my intention, but fruit that follows proves my completion. Anticipate fruit. Land for fruit. Train for fruit. Because I have not merely decorated your desert, I have converted it into an orchard assignment. And orchards feed nations. So lift your eyes from single petals to entire ecosystems. I am building something sustainable, not seasonal. Tend it faithfully, celebrate audaciously, testify boldly, and watch the desert relinquish every last trace of defeat under the weight of unstoppable bloom. Do not merely admire the colors now bursting into your once parched landscape. Collect them, press them to memory, and stitch them together until a deliberate garment forms around your soul. This is no sentimental exercise. It is an emergency protocol against the arrows of entitlement and the darts of amnesia that the adversary releases when momentum accelerates. I warn you emphatically. Unguarded favor attracts jealous calculation, and the quickest way to nullify that poison is to clothe yourself in conscious thankfulness. Every thank you spoken with sincerity forges an unseen plate over a vital region of your spirit. Where bitterness sought an entrance, grateful reflection hardens like tempered glass. Where comparison tried to infect your bloodstream, recollection of my interventions neutralizes the toxin before it can circulate. Think of each remembered mercy as a luminous thread. Weave them together daily until they resemble a radiant mail that flexes with your movement yet refuses penetration. Do not postpone this weaving for quieter days. Those days will not arrive. Growth is speeding up, invitations are multiplying, and schedules will soon press upon you like swift rivers. Gratitude must be pre-fitted now so it instinctively shields when busyness would otherwise leave soft gaps. Inventory every rescue I staged, large and microscopic, the closed door that prevented a counterfeit alliance, the anonymous gift that bridged your last financial deficit, the midnight verse that steadied trembling hands. Record them in voice notes if ink feels sluggish, sing them if speech feels weak, etch them on paper and pin them where your eyes land first at dawn. Let the archive be living, not archival, alive, and growing like vines that overtake a wall until no exposed brick remains. And hear me, gratitude is not passive nostalgia. It is an active weapon that bends future outcomes. When thankfulness fills the atmosphere, demonic forecasts lose spectral footing. They cannot lodge accusations where acknowledgement has already built a throne for my faithfulness. Envy may hiss from sidelines, but it will find no vacancy in a heart crowded with remembered goodness. Furthermore, gratitude sharpens perception. The grateful see possibilities camouflage to the cynical. While others debate whether a door exists, those robed in remembrance walk through gateways they alone notice flashing open. Opportunities recognize gratitude's fragrance and rush toward it like bees to a flowering tree. This is why I insist cultivate it urgently, intentionally, repetitively. Refuse to let a single blessing slip past unchronicled. Even the breath warming your lungs this second is evidence of mercy renewing at lightning speed. Acknowledge it, and another plate of armor snaps into place. Soon you will move encased head to toe in iridescent remembrance, reflecting hostile fire back toward its architect. And remember, what wraps you also radiates. Observers will feel inexplicable safety in your orbit because grateful hearts leak resilience into the room. Let that leakage become ministry. Your guarded state becomes their refuge, your recited tales become their roadmap out of gloom. But begin now. Take today's smallest mercy, perhaps the quiet blink of dawn sliding through your window, and name it aloud. Then stack the next mercy upon it, and the next, until the pile towers like a citadel. When storms gather again, and lightning will strike the tower and find only grounded praise, not combustible worry. Gratitude is lightning-proof. Wear it. Wield it. Work it into every seam of your rising life, and watch as I amplify each humble thank you into thunderclaps that chase shame beyond the horizon where it can no longer whisper your name. Advance now to the threshold glowing at the edge of your freshly fortified spirit. Do not let its looming size intimidate you, for every slab of its iron was forged from questions that lost their authority the moment you began rehearsing my faithfulness. Hear the rasp of those hinges protesting change. They have grown stiff from years of absorbing anxious forecasts, and they expect you to tremble as others did. Yet the melody rising from your renewed core carries a viscosity the metal cannot withstand. Each syllable of reverence issuing from your mouth drips like fragrant balm into hidden pivot points, dissolving corrosion that fear accumulated over decades. You are not battering this barrier with brute strength. You are lubricating destiny with adoration, rendering obstacles weightless. Understand what is happening in the invisible. Principalities assigned to guard this passageway conferred among themselves that praise was merely preliminary noise until they felt the very bolts beneath. Their claws begin to turn. They will scramble now, but they cannot restrain hardware that I personally inscribed with the words open for the one who remembers. Keep singing yes, even if your voice cracks under the surreal gravity of the moment, because each quiver releases another droplet of holy oil, and the gate is already shifting. You will feel a subtle give beneath your fingertips, like creation inhaling right before morning breaks. That is your sign to push, not with aggression, but with steady confidence, the way a priest parts curtains to enter the innermost room. Do not look back to see if anyone else understands. Comprehension is not the criterion for passage, obedience is. Let the chorus in your chest swell, layering fresh chords of awe over yesterday's gratitude until the atmosphere vibrates with unstoppable resonance. Notice how the creak transforms into a sigh and then into silence as resistance surrenders. This is the mechanical sound of doubt conceding to devotion. As the panels swing wide, step through without pausing to analyze the mechanics, that curiosity can wait for retrospective testimony. Right now the momentum of reverence must not stall. The realm on the other side is calibrated for immediate occupancy, stocked with assignments that begin counting down the moment your sandal crosses the line. Move in rhythm with the music still echoing from your tongue, because that cadence will guide you through corridors where maps fail. Floors here are pressure sensitive. Only those carrying atmospheres of honor trigger the lights embedded beneath translucent stone. If you cease worship, darkness returns, but continuous exaltation keeps the path glowing ahead and disorients any predator tracking from behind. Let me be clear. This zone is not free from warfare. It is free from unauthorized entry. Your praise acts as both passcode and perimeter alarm. Marauders clothed in cynicism will find the hinges rigid once more, puzzled that what opened for you remains bolted for them. Do not allow pity to dilute your focus. Intercede, yes, but press forward. I have timed encounters deeper within these halls, alliances, instructions, innovations that require your arrival while the incense of your current song still perfumes your garments. Should fatigue nip at your resolve, recall that worship is renewable energy. The more you pour out, the more rivers spring beneath your feet. Let your hands rise occasionally, not because I need the gesture but because it recalibrates your posture, keeping shoulders unburdened and palms ready to receive unanticipated keys hidden in the air itself. You will notice aromas change, first myrrh of sacrifice, then spikenard of intimacy, finally frankincense of commissioning, each scent marking progressive chambers. Do not cling to one fragrance, keep flowing, for stagnation where I once lingered becomes disobedience where I now lead. And remember, gates are never an ending, always an entry. Celebrate the swing, but reserve louder triumph for the tasks awaiting execution. Sing, step, observe, obey, repeat this cycle until breathing feels like blessing and movement feels like music. The hinges have yielded. The way is clear. Proceed while the oil of worship is still fresh and the echo of breakthrough still vibrates through the air. Step beyond the threshold and feel the atmosphere shift. Cool stone gives way to warm current, a signal that ignition is required for the next stretch of the journey. Reach inward, deeper than emotion, deeper than intellect, until your fingertips graze the dormant tinder of calling I embedded in you before birth. Do not fear its volatility, fear only neglect, because embers left unattended invite parasitic glows that mimic brilliance yet drain strength. This is why I command you now, strike the flint of my spirit, strike until sparks burst against the inner walls of your being and catch upon the tinder. Fan it with intentional breath. Inhale revelation, exhale surrender, again and again, until the first blue-orange fingers curl upward. Guard this newborn flame from drafts of distraction disguised as opportunity. They will appear harmless, promising quicker illumination, but their glow is neon loud, temporary, buzzing with vanity. Your fire, once mature, will render such seductions pale, but while it is young, vigilance matters. Surround it with truth spoken aloud. Truth forms a windbreak, ensuring gusts of comparison cannot snuff what I am nurturing. As heat grows, you will sense ancient chains hidden in your memory begin to pop like old twine. Listen to that crackle. Let it remind you liberation is noisy work. Allow the timber of past disappointments to feed the rising furnace. Past pain becomes potent fuel when surrendered. Do not waste time mourning what burns away. Ashes fertilize soil for later harvest. When radiance intensifies, extend your palms toward the glow. Feel toxins sweat from pores once clogged by doubt. Purification is never polite, yet it is always precise. Every hiss you hear is a lie releasing its grip. Stay steady, do not jerk back when truth singes vanity. Endurance in this heat tempers character until it can conduct glory without warping. Soon vortexes of color crimson, gold, violet will whirl in the core, each hue a facet of identity I'm restoring. Memorize the palette. It will guide artistic expressions of your testimony later. Now lift your gaze. Shadows that lurked along vaulted ceilings are receding, powerless before genuine luminescence. Notice how corridors you could not map moments ago reveal intricate mosaics on their floors. Revelation follows ignition. Walk forward carrying the fire like a living torch. But remember, flame exposed to thin atmosphere requires continual feeding. Scriptures you memorized years ago must be reheated in meditation. Prophetic promises must be rehearsed in quiet hours. Songs birthed in secret must be replayed under your breath. These are logs laid carefully to keep infernos steady. Understand, too, that holy fire emits a scent predators despise. Expect resistance, but understand resistance now serves as bellows. Every snarl supplies oxygen. Every accusation pumps fresh air into the blaze. Therefore do not hide. Visibility multiplies intensity. Yet remain humble. Wildfire without order destroys. I will teach you to bank the coals, to build hearts in barren town squares where travelers may warm chilled dreams. This is generational strategy, not personal spectacle. Let humility be the hearthstone, hospitality the chimney, instruction the guardrail. And never forget, counterfeit lights crave audience but melt under scrutiny. Your fire invites inspection and grows under honest gaze. Periodically pause to inspect flame color if it dulls. Retent quickly. Unconfessed compromise coats wicks and soot. Scrape away residue through transparent conversation with me. Then watch brilliance return, often brighter after cleansing. As you progress, flames may leap from your torch to dormant wood in others. Celebrate, do not clutch. My kingdom multiplies through shared ignition. Eventually the path behind you will glimmer like constellations fallen to earth, each spark marking a life awakened, each trail of warmth testifying that devotion to me eclipses every synthetic gleam vying for attention. Keep sobbing, keep advancing, keep agile. The counterfeit cannot compete where authentic fire marches. Now that the flame has taken form and is roaring with holy purpose, it's time to direct that radiant light into the rooms of your soul you've kept dim for far too long. There are chambers within you where regret has taken residence, quiet places where past failures, missed chances, and haunting accusations whisper with persistence. Shame builds nests in those spaces when left unexamined, convincing you they are off limits, too stained to touch, too broken to redeem. But I say to you now, bring the fire. Turn its holy warmth toward every thought that still tries to replay the moment you faltered, the season you fell short, the time you chose silence instead of courage. Do not run from them, illuminate them. When my fire enters those long-forgotten corners, it does not scold or punish. It purifies. It redefines. It reveals what shame tried to hide, the raw material of redemption. Let this sacred blaze reach into memories where you still wince when you think of your name, and instead, feel my voice rush in like morning wind, declaring, that moment no longer defines you, it refines you. Shame loses its grip not through denial but through confrontation, and my fire is your weapon for that holy confrontation. What once froze your confidence, what once paralyzed your prayers, now begins to thaw. That tightness in your chest that you've learned to live with. It's softening, that internal cringe that accompanied every compliment. It's unraveling, because my flame does not merely burn, it comforts. And in that warmth, you will feel something unexpected, tenderness for yourself. Yes, even that is holy. Compassion isn't weakness, it's evidence that you are letting me restore what self-condemnation tried to crush. Shame taught you to hide from your own reflection. But this light I've given you, it invites you to see again with my eyes, not your old filters. And in my eyes, you were never discarded. You were never too dirty. You were never irreparably flawed. I saw the breaking, but I also saw the healing ahead. I saw the cracks forming, and I also saw the oil that would one day fill those fissures and pour out into others' wounds. That's what this is about. Not just your freedom, but the overflow. Because what is melted in you becomes healing for someone else who thinks they are beyond repair. Don't dismiss your scars, they are proof that shame lost its voice in the presence of holy fire. Let this glow linger in places that once triggered you. Watch as memories become monuments, not landmines. Let laughter begin to rise again in places you once avoided. Let freedom feel strange. At first it means you're walking out of the prison shame built. And do not expect everyone to understand this transformation. Some knew you only by your wounds, and won't recognize you without them. That's okay. You weren't made to live in their past version of you. You were made to reflect the radiance of one who rewrites stories. Stay close to the flame. Keep feeding it with truth. Let it continue its holy work until even your silence glows with the power of restoration. The old frost is gone. The sun is up. Walk out of that shadow and into the light I lit inside you. Shame has no deed to your soul. Evict it with glory. Let that fire roar until not even a whisper of your old guilt can survive the sound. This is your moment. Let it burn. Now that the thick film of shame has been stripped from the walls of your inner world, take this sacred vacancy seriously. It is not emptiness. It is capacity. What was once congested with regret is now available for divine design. Don't let this cleared ground remain idle. or lesser voices will try to decorate it with recycled lies. Fill it swiftly with vision, my vision for you, which stretches further than any map you've ever been handed. I am not simply showing you possibilities, I am commissioning you to see through my eyes. This is no vague inspiration or fleeting daydream. This is a holy blueprint born from eternity's fabric and tailored to your name. Begin to imagine differently. I give you permission to release old limits, to erase ceilings installed by culture, family, or even your own doubts. See Brodu Higher Diver. Let images flood your mind not with fantasy but with clarity. Envision conversations that unlock purpose. Picture landscapes where your feet have never touched, but your spirit knows belong to you. Let this mental space become my drawing board, where I sketch what's next while the ink of yesterday dries without authority. You were not created to wander without direction. My people perish not from a lack of favor but from a lack of vision. And I will not allow that fate to find you. What I show you in the quiet place must be protected like seed before rain. Start writing it down. Start sketching the structure of what I reveal, even if it feels impossible in the present moment. The instructions I give aren't suggestions. They are scaffolding for where your spirit is meant to grow into. I have already seen the end, I am walking you through it backward. That idea that keeps returning. It's not a distraction, it's a divine seed trying to germinate. That sudden sense that you're called to build, to shift atmospheres, to heal, to launch, to pioneer, that is not ambition, it's alignment. But be warned, vision will always be targeted. The moment you begin to articulate it, opposition will attempt to fog your lens. The accuser cannot steal what I've ordained, but he will try to blur it, distort it, shrink it down to something palatable. He'll send voices that speak fear cloaked as caution. He'll remind you of past failures and try to stitch them onto the edge of your new horizon. But if you stay immersed in what I've shown you, if you feed it with my word and shield it with worship, then no counterfeit narrative could dismantle what is now taking root. I'm not asking you to see the whole staircase. I'm asking you to trust the step you're on enough to build what I place in your hands. Vision is more than foresight, it's a declaration that you believe what I said about your future more than what life tried to convince you of through pain. That's why you must hold it close. Speak it wisely. Surround it with those who fan its flame, not those who douse it with their own fears. Because the vision I place in you has ripple effects. It is not just for you, it's for cities, for bloodlines, for those you'll never meet but whose destiny hinges on your obedience to believe boldly. And know this, while you are still imagining, I am already setting foundations. While you are still drawing, I am assigning builders. While you are still processing, I am sending provision in directions you haven't looked yet. But none of it can manifest if you dismiss the vision as too big, too much, too late. It is right on time. You are not behind schedule. You are not underqualified. You are simply at the doorway of divine imagination colliding with human agreement. Let me paint with your faith as my canvas. Watch how quickly the picture becomes real. This isn't just a glimpse. It's a call. Digum the bray. You have lifted the brush, and fresh color already streaks across the canvas of tomorrow. Now pause long enough to frame what you are painting with uncompromising borders. For every masterpiece that lacks a frame risks damage from careless handling. I am urging you with seriousness. Mark the perimeter of your calling before spectators crowd too close. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. Think of ancient vineyards where stone walls kept roaming animals from trampling young vines. Likewise, the revelation in your spirit needs a perimeter so stray doctrines, envious chatter, and opportunistic partnerships cannot trample its first fragile shoots. Begin by carving out protected hours in your day, pockets of undistracted silence where the whisper of my spirit remains undiluted. Guard those hours like a watchman refusing to sleep. If you surrender them to endless scrolling or urgent but not important tasks, your vision will blur at the edges before it matures at the core. The next, patrol conversations. Not every ear deserves a front row seat to blueprints still wet with heaven's ink. Share selectively, with those who carry honor, wisdom, and a proven record of celebrating growth that isn't their own. Words flung into cynical atmospheres absorb skepticism the way white cloth soaks dye. Keep the cloth of your dream immaculate until its pattern is strong enough to withstand critique. Then, set emotional boundaries. Hope can be siphoned by subtle vampires, people who, while smiling, drain courage through perpetual comparison or backhanded compliments. Love them, intercede for them, but do not grant them unsupervised access to the garden of your heart. It is my command that you cultivate peace, and peace fades when you allow constant tug-of-war with personalities committed to turmoil. Financial borders come next. Resources earmarked for the assignment must not be swallowed by impulse or guilt-driven generosity. Seek me for strategic giving rather than reactionary spending. Every coin is a seed or a shield. Use both intentionally. Finally, create intellectual boundaries. Feed your mind material that expands possibility in alignment with my narrative, not media that scripts fear and breeds paralysis. Notice how each safeguard is less about walls of exclusion and more about gates of intentionality. You are not building a fortress against community. You are constructing channels that ensure the right flows reach the right wells. When critics call you rigid, remember the ark could not float if no one negotiated its dimensions. Precision protects destiny. Even rivers respected the measurements I gave Moses for the tabernacle. How much more should vision respect the dimensions I reveal to you? Do not feel guilty when you say no to invitations that dilute focus. No is holy currency that purchases margin for your yes to thrive. Understand, too, that boundaries are dynamic. Review them often. As revelation grows from seed to sapling to towering cedar, widen the fence posts while retaining their strength. A childish brim becomes an adult assignment only when protection scales alongside expansion. And here is mystery. Boundaries, once established in wisdom, actually invite greater freedom. Like rails on a high mountain trail, they prevent fatal slips, allowing you to run faster, gaze farther, laugh louder without the dread of sudden collapse. Therefore, etch your lines firmly through schedule, speech, finances, relationships, and imagination. Then plant watchtowers of prayer at every corner. Station gratitude at each gate. Thanksgiving disarms thieves before they draw near. Post humility on the inside. Pride forgets to lock doors. Illuminate the entire perimeter with consistent worship. Darkness avoids well-lit fields. Do these things swiftly, for the enemy loves unguarded beginnings. But once you have done them, rest in the assurance that what I initiate, I also shield. Your duty is diligence, my promise is preservation. Mark the edges, stand your ground, and watch how vision flourishes when boundaries bless it with room to breathe and sky to climb. Now that clear lines have been drawn around your sacred assignment, call forth the one guardian that travels light yet wields unbreakable influence, my peace. This is no fragile feeling that evaporates in heated debate. It is a formidable presence forged in the furnace of my absolute sovereignty. Picture it arriving like a silent regiment at dusk, lanterns glowing with a light that cannot be counterfeited, positioning itself at every newly established gate. It needs no swords, for conflict loses appetite in its company. Where anxiety once sprinted through unmonitored corridors, peace now stands with folded arms, steady eyes, and an unspoken decree. Nothing hostile crosses without facing the king's quiet fury. Understand how radical this is. Armies in the natural intimidate through noise and numbers. But the peace I bestow subdues through stillness. Its very calm an announcement of undefeatable authority. You will feel its effect first in your breathing. What was shallow grows deep. What was hurried slows to measured cadence. That rhythm is not mere relaxation. It is alignment with heaven's metronome, resetting internal chaos to kingdom tempo so revelation can flow without static. As peace settles, conversations that once triggered defensive reflexes will stumble into awkward silence, unable to provoke you because agitation cannot negotiate with tranquility seated on a throne. Phone notifications that formerly spiked your pulse will now blink harmlessly. Some you will answer in wisdom, others you will swipe away with holy indifference, for discernment rides on peace's shoulders and knows which voices require attention. Even your physical surroundings will sense the shift. Rooms previously thick with tension will feel as though windows have opened, stale air replaced by crisp clarity. Guests may comment on an indefinable atmosphere they encounter upon entering. That is the patrol doing its work, screening motives, diffusing hostility before it takes visible shape. Do not downplay this phenomenon or apologize for it. Visibility of peace is evidence that spiritual infrastructure is functioning. Yet remember, this sentinel must be welcomed daily. Begin mornings by acknowledging its post, inviting it with sincerity rather than assumption. Speak, Prince of Peace, govern my gates again, and watch how quick it acknowledges your surrender. Feed it with worship, the way a castle supplies its guards with provisions. If you starve peace through perpetual media frenzy, you will notice the patrol weaken, not in essence, but in your awareness of it, and gaps in attentiveness become loopholes for subtle sabotage. Conversely, when you nourish peace with gratitude, it multiplies, stretching perimeter posts farther than you imagined you had influence, safeguarding projects, partnerships, and even distant relatives linked to your destiny. Be advised, adversaries will test the fence, tapping for vulnerabilities with rumors, deadlines, unexpected bills. In those moments, refuse to trade peace for the illusion of control. Instead, answer each knock with a declaration: my peace is non-negotiable because its source is unshakable. You will witness how quickly harassing spirits retreat when they find no agitation to latch onto. And here lies deeper strategy. Peace is not only defense, it is also signal. When it remains unbroken, it proves you are still marching in step with purpose. Persistent unrest, on the other hand, flags areas where alignment slipped. Treat turbulence as an audit rather than a verdict. Pause, recalibrate, reinforce boundaries, then summon peace back to its station. Soon you will master the art of moving under an invisible canopy. Meetings, travel, creative bursts, all cloaked in serenity that precedes you like gentle dawn. People will wonder how you navigate complexity without burning out. They will expect secrets about time management, yet the genuine answer will be presence management, hosting peace until peace hosts you. From this vantage, make decisions. Contracts signed in peace stand the test of scrutiny, whereas those inked in panic unravel under mild pressure. Likewise, conversations framed by peace carry a resonance that lingers long after words fade, opening doors diplomacy could not budget for. So honor the sentinel. Read it at sunrise. Consult it before replying. Rely on it when forecast warns of storms. It will not abandon its post unless you deliberately usher in worry to replace it. Keep worry exiled, keep peace enthroned. Every boundary you erected in obedience will flourish under its watch, and hostile forces will soon concede that breaching your terrain is costlier than retreat. In that assurance, press forward. The guarded path awaits, shimmering beneath the unwavering gaze of heaven's quiet warrior. Now that the roar has quieted and the gates are kept with strength clothed in silence, you must recalibrate how you hear me, for I am not limited to the dramatic. My voice is not always found in the explosion or the earthquake. It often dwells in the stillness that follows. When the world demands a spectacle, I sometimes whisper. And if your ears have only been conditioned to respond to crisis, then you will miss the subtle nudge that shifts destinies without announcement. This is where maturity begins, not in chasing noise but in discerning movement where others see stillness. You must listen not only with the drum of your outer hearing but with the attuned sensors of your spirit, where impressions rise before words form. Don't dismiss the faint tug, the sudden pause in your chest, the idea that floats in at the edge of silence and refuses to leave. I speak there right in the space between your next breath and your last thought. That interruption is not random, it is invitation. Your ability to respond determines whether that moment becomes transformation or just another passing shadow. The clues I give are often encoded in the unnoticed recurring thoughts that don't compete for attention, people you keep encountering without trying, scriptures that repeat in your spirit even when you try to move on. These are not distractions. They are breadcrumbs on your path, carefully dropped by my hand. When you follow them, you'll realize that I've been plotting alignment all along, not in loud proclamations, but in subtle arrangements. But here's the challenge. Your environment will try to override me. the clamor of notifications, the opinions of well-meaning voices, even your own desire for quick answers will attempt to speak over my direction. This is why I am urging you to enter deeper quiet, not to do less, but to hear more. You are not lacking revelation. You are often too saturated with sound to detect its entry point. So, begin creating space again. Turn down the volume of distraction. Step away from noise dressed as productivity. Be deliberate about silence until silence no longer feels like emptiness, but expectancy. There will be moments when I instruct you to act on nothing but a nudge, and it will feel foolish to your logic. But if you've trained yourself in stillness, that nudge will feel like thunder in your spirit. What seems small in email, a conversation, a delayed departure could become the door that unlocks a chain reaction of answered prayer. Heaven's strategy is rarely announced with a banner. More often, it enters like wind through a crack, gentle, invisible, but powerful enough to shift atmosphere if you're aware. That's why you must keep your spirit uncluttered. Too many missed assignments happen not from rebellion, but from sensory overload. The clues I give are never random. They are embedded with timing, and some expire if left unrecognized. Train yourself now to catch them while they're fresh, to obey before they make sense, to write down what seems incomplete. Later, when the pattern connects, you'll marvel that I had been drawing a map the entire time. You must also resist the temptation to explain every step to those who haven't heard what you've heard. Some of what I reveal to you in the quiet will not be for public release. It will be your compass, not your conversation piece. Hold it close until I say share. Until then, guard it like seed before the rain, not because it's fragile, but because it's formative. Eventually, what was whispered will bloom visibly, and the same voices that once dismissed your discernment will seek your insight. But the goal is not applause, it's alignment. I'm not training you for performance. I'm conditioning you for precision. So be alert. Watch for my breath moving across moments that others call mundane. Listen for me not in the noise, but in the pause between questions. That's where the gold is. That's where I am. A shift has just brushed your spirit, barely audible, lighter than the flutter of a sparrow's wing, yet it carries the full weight of heaven's timetable, and I need you to respond before hesitation hardens into disobedience. Do not linger analyzing pros and cons while the compass of my intent is already swinging to a fresh heading. The prompting you sense is not a polite suggestion. It is the critical hinge on which an entire sequence of breakthroughs will turn. Consider the rocket awaiting launch if ignition is postponed by even a breath. Planetary alignments move on, windows close, and a decade of preparation stalls. In the same way, if you stall, doors that were engineered to slide open at your arrival will glide past their moment and seal. Speed matters, not reckless haste born of panic, but decisive motion fueled by trust. You have practiced stillness, now channel that collected focus into immediate action. Gather your resources, realign your calendar, shift that phone call, cancel that meeting if needed, whatever it costs. Pivot now. Understand that many around you confuse caution with wisdom, yet when I nudge, prolonged evaluation becomes silent refusal. There is postured faith that talks of surrender and lived faith that turns on a dime. I am asking for the latter. Picture me clearing traffic on a multi-lane highway, signaling you to merge. Your delay forces sudden braking behind, and chaos for those following your taillights. Prompt obedience, however, synchronizes the entire convoy of purposes tied to your assignment. What seems like a personal turn is actually a corporate rescue. Families, cities, even nations ride the slipstream of your yes. Do not fear losing progress. The quick change you dread will actually catapult you beyond painstaking strategies. Momentum is my gift to movers, not to theorists. And remember, redirection rarely arrives with full explanation. Gideon heard trim the army. Philip heard run to the chariot. Joseph heard nothing but a midnight whisper. Yet each pivot unlocked chapters still shaping history. So release the idol of perfect clarity. Let mystery travel with you like a trusted companion. Pack lightly so acceleration is unhindered. Jettison grudges, second-guessing, unnecessary approvals. Keep only the essentials. integrity, humility, a listening art. I will supply the rest en route. As you swing to the new trajectory, expect turbulence, winds howl when established patterns are disrupted, but feel my hand steady the rudder. Critics will accuse you of impatience, but results will silence them when timelines compress and impossibilities buckle. Mark this moment. Your quick compliance is writing a date stamp in the chronicles of heaven, recording the instant your storyline intersected divine immediacy. Later you will trace cascading blessings back to this pivot and marvel how a seemingly tiny turn redirected rivers of favor toward drought-stricken fields. Therefore move before daybreak melts this alignment into ordinary hours. Let angels assigned to your charge report that they found you agile, not anchored to yesterday's routine. Swing your foot in the new direction, breathe the courage I exhale, and step because miracles travel at the speed of obedience. Don't slow down now, run. Not just forward, but toward the unmistakable sound echoing in the spirit realm, shackles snapping, locks breaking, heavy links crashing to the floor. That sound isn't distant noise, it's the proof that my power has reached places you once believed were too hardened, too bound, too late. Every chain falling is not just a personal win, it's a prophetic announcement. The bondage that once controlled timelines, identities, and entire legacies is being interrupted. And I'm not asking you to merely observe it, I'm calling you to move toward it. There is acceleration waiting in that direction. Do you hear it? That rhythm of release is not random. It is the tempo of deliverance, and your footsteps are meant to match its beat. This is the moment where you must move like someone who believes that miracles aren't distant, they are unfolding now. Every time you move toward the noise of liberation, something in you also unlocks. You are not just witnessing breakthrough, you are becoming a vessel through which breakthrough continues to echo. The sound of chains dropping is not just symbolic, it is surgical. It marks the precise second a lie lost its power, when generational curses unraveled, when inner vows made in pain were shattered by truth. And where those fragments hit the ground, there is new territory forming. Space once occupied by oppression is now fertile ground for restoration. But hear me, this sound fades for those who treat it casually. It's a window that opens with urgency, and I want you running while the gate of freedom is still swinging wide. As you go, you'll step over remnants, old mindsets, expired agreements, contracts signed in fear, all lying discarded like broken manacles. Don't collect them out of familiarity. Don't mourn them because they were once yours. Leave them. Let them rust in the light of my glory and keep moving. You're going to encounter others on this path too, people who are confused, overwhelmed, blinking in the brightness after years in dim captivity. Don't just pass them. Reach for them. That's why I awakened your pace, to help gather the ones who are still stunned by their sudden release. Speak to them. Call out what's free. Remind them that they are not hallucinating. This is real. This is permanent. This is me. Help them walk. Help them run. Teach them to move again. To live again. To dream again. Some have forgotten how their voice sounds without chains. Some have never heard silence without accusation. But now, their ears are being tuned to a different frequency: grace, peace, clarity. You will be a guide if you stay close to the sound of liberty. And as you run, expect opposition, but not from me. Expect resistance from systems and voices that benefited from your bondage. They will try to shame your speed, question your transformation, call it emotional, premature, or unrealistic. Smile and keep running. Their confusion is the evidence that what held you no longer holds weight. The sound you follow is louder than their disapproval. Every mile you cover now crushes the ground that used to hold your fears. And every time your foot strikes the earth in confidence, the atmosphere around you shifts. Watch how old territory begins to respond differently. Places where heaviness once clung will now carry a sense of movement, anticipation, readiness. That's because you're not just moving toward freedom, you're carrying it. This is the season of rapid unraveling. What took years to tie down is coming undone in a day. Not by striving, but by my spirit. You don't need to force the doors open, they are already swinging. You just need to run. Not carelessly but urgently. Not recklessly but boldly. Follow the sound of liberty until it surrounds you, until it echoes through your own bones, until it becomes the new rhythm you live by. The chains are gone. Now move like someone who will never wear them again. The clank of every snapped shackle is not meant to fade into silence. Capture those reverberations before they disperse, weave them into living music, and unleash that anthem upon the very air that once carried laments. Reach out with the ears of your spirit and collect each metallic note, the clang from yesterday's addiction, the clang from ancestral shame, the clang from private doubts no one ever saw, and thread them together like bells on a warrior's cloak. Let them jangle whenever you move so the atmosphere remembers it can no longer cage you. But do not stop at noise. Craft melody. Shape syllables of thanksgiving that rise and fall like waves, crafting harmonies audacious enough to shake corridors still haunted by despair. Allow drums of righteous zeal to undergird every stanza, so cadence and conviction dance as allies. When your voice trembles, let the memory of your exit from darkness steady the pitch. When intimidation attempts to choke your throat, let the hiss of that enemy become a percussive accent, reminding you that even threats can be repurposed as rhythm in the kingdom's soundtrack. Understand the physics of praise. Sound carries force. Joy is not soft sentiment. It is pressure that drives back gloom like a gale drives out stale smoke. As you sing, invisible walls fracture. You may not see bricks falling, yet spirits of heaviness will feel each note like a hammer to their foundation. Keep singing until vibration saturates corners of your mind once shadowed by anxiety. Keep singing until hallways of your workplace hum with possibility. Keep singing until your neighborhood hears something they cannot explain but cannot ignore. This is evangelism in its rawest form, truth wrapped in tone, delivered at the frequency of hope. Children who overhear it will believe impossible futures again. Elders who sit beneath its current will feel forgotten dreams twitch alive. Even cynics must concede, if only inwardly, that such resonance could not rise from mere positive thinking. It requires a liberated soul. And while you compose, invite others into the choir. Some will arrive with broken voices, ashamed of cracked timbres shaped by years of weeping. Hand them a measure anyway, because the kingdom's chorus values authenticity over polish. Their scars provide unique overtones that add volume no trained vocalist could imitate. Teach them that a whisper of gratitude, amplified by honesty, strikes harder than a stadium of performative cheers. Soon a tapestry of frequencies will swell, sopranos of fresh revelation, altos of tested endurance, tenors of prophetic urgency, basses rumbling with generational deliverance until the air itself seems to shimmer, thoroughly invaded by jubilant resistance. Darkness will attempt to counter melody murmurs of skepticism, low drones of fatigue, but your collective song will modulate higher, staying unreachable to discord grounded in unbelief. Remember, as you orchestrate, maintain momentum. Songs that start in fire can end in embers if rehearsal stops. Schedule intervals of spontaneous worship the way armies schedule drills, non-negotiable, strategic, invigorating. Write new verses when victories accumulate, so fresh triumphs are promptly archived in sound. Keep instruments tune your speech, your posture, your daily decisions, because hypocrisy detunes praise faster than any external attack. Guard the purity of your lyrics. Avoid complaining between choruses, lest you puncture the very canopy you are building. And whenever life presents fresh chains because battles remain, do not default to panic. Instead, listen for the first faint ping of metal stressing under heaven's pressure, and smile, knowing another stanza is about to be birthed. Finally, aim your melody outward like an arrow. Declare that the same deliverer who shattered your bonds is on patrol looking for the next prison to empty. Let your refrain name him boldly King, Savior, light unquenchable, and watch as hope sprints ahead of the sound, slipping through barred windows, curling around wounded hearts, prying open locks you will never see but will one day hear testified. This is how joy wages war. It sings where others sigh. It laughs where good expected silence. It reverberates until night concedes to dawn. Lift the tune higher, child, let the whole horizon feel the tremor of freedom conducted through your song. As your song rises and carries the weight of your breakthrough into spaces it was never meant to remain silent in, pause not to lower your volume, but to adjust your posture. There is an elevation that only comes through yielded breath, and now that you've begun to soar, I must remind you, the air is thinner here, and in thinner air, arrogance cannot survive. You must breathe differently at this height. Humility is not self-rejection, it is clear awareness that every note you hit, every chain you outlasted, every room now echoing your voice is the result of mercy, not mastery. My favor carried you where performance would have failed. Don't forget it. This is not the place to swell with applause, it is the place to exhale reverence. Let every inhale be filled with awe, and every exhale carry surrender. You must learn this now, because elevation can seduce even the honest-hearted. One moment of forgetting who steadied your steps, and suddenly your vision blurs, not from distance, but from pride creeping into the bloodstream like poison with no taste. At this altitude, even small compromises take a large toll. So I warn you not to shame you, but to preserve you. Don't mistake spotlight for sunlight. Just because eyes are on you doesn't mean my face is shining through you. The spotlight elevates people temporarily. My light transforms them permanently. Choose transformation. Stay low in spirit even when high in influence. Bend knees daily, even if stages rise beneath your feet. Speak my name more than your own. Point higher every time praise comes your way, not with cliché, but with genuine deflection, because I alone carried you here, and I alone sustain what I planned. At the same time, let this humility create room for even deeper growth. Pride is loud and insecurity. Humility is bold and identity. Don't confuse shyness for meekness. I'm not asking you to dim your light, I'm asking you to remember who lit it. Humility says, yes, I shine, but only because he set me ablaze. Humility walks into new rooms with confidence, but doesn't expect a throne. It kneels even when invited to stand. It listens twice before speaking once. It asks me before assuming. And it always remains interruptible. When you breathe this air of humility consistently, you begin to host my presence at levels that strategy could never orchestrate. People will ask how you continue to grow without striving, how you gain influence without selling out, how doors open without knocking, and your answer will not be technique, but posture. And I tell you, this kind of posture shifts rooms. Where humility leads, authority follows. Not worldly authority, but the kind that silences chaos with a whisper. When pride enters, heaven waits. But when humility enters, heaven moves. You see the difference. One posture delays your mission. The other accelerates it. If you want me to keep trusting you with greater reach, deeper insight, more miraculous manifestations, you must remain bowed even while rising. This is the paradox of kingdom greatness. The ones who climb the highest must learn to kneel the fastest. For it is on your knees that you gain the clearest view of me, and in seeing me rightly, you see everything else with clarity. Now breathe again. Feel the weight of elevation meet the ease of surrender. Don't grip this season too tightly, carry it like a gift that belongs to me first, then to you. Keep the air clear by staying low. Let others race ahead with puffed lungs and inflated plans. You stay near the ground of my presence. You will rise, yes, but only by my wind. Let humility be your oxygen now. Let it keep your heart soft, your eyes open, your steps pure. And as the altitude increases, keep checking your pulse, not to measure ambition, but to guard worship. If the beat of your heart still whispers, "It's all you, Lord," then you are breathing well. Keep going, but stay bowed. There is much ahead, and this sacred air was made for those who refuse to forget the one who lifted them. Now that you have learned how to remain low while rising, I want you to stay still just long enough to receive something you cannot reach by effort alone: revelation. You do not need to strive for it, scream for it, or manipulate circumstances to force it. You simply need to remain open, positioned like a field at dawn, waiting for the sky to release what only the sky can bring. Revelation is not noise, it is nourishment. It doesn't come with fanfare, but with saturation. And when it lands, It won't cause a tremor, it will cause transformation. I don't drop revelation for entertainment or curiosity. I pour it out when your spirit is ready to absorb wisdom without turning it into spectacle. Be still, and you will feel it settle layer by layer, seeping into the dry places you didn't even realize were cracked. This is not information. It's not theory or inspiration. It's the unraveling of divine mysteries meant to rewire your understanding, not just about me, but about how I've designed your life to function in this hour. When revelation comes, it doesn't simply teach, it reorders. It takes your scattered thoughts, your fragmented hopes, and your misaligned prayers, and it arranges them according to a higher blueprint. You'll know it's revelation when peace follows the insight and clarity walks in before the explanation. You won't always be able to trace it logically, but you will know it didn't come from your imagination. It will puff you up, it will break you open. In the best way. Because what I give now isn't for applause or content, it's for a foundation. You've sung, you've stepped, you've stretched, but now I need you to soak. Let me refresh the places in your thinking that have grown tired from overanalysis. Let me wash over the conclusions you reached out of pain instead of prayer. You have believed some things for so long, not because they were true, but because they were the only explanations that seemed to make the ache bearable. But here I come with truth, not hard truth meant to shame, but soft truth that gently erodes deception without harming you. When my light touches your mind, you won't just feel smarter, you will feel lighter. Because truth removes burdens that lies required you to carry. My revelation will start to uproot assumptions. You'll feel a shift in how you see people, how you respond to situations, how you process delay, how you anticipate blessing. These are not random adjustments, this is me recalibrating you from the inside out. You'll think it's just insight, but it's reprogramming. Holy reprogramming. Necessary if you're to carry what's next without collapse. You must understand, revelation is the kingdom's operating language. Without it, you will default to guessing, coping, and reacting. With it, you will build, lead, and move strategically. I'm not just giving you ideas. I'm giving you structure. Plans that form in the quiet. Insights that link together like puzzle pieces. Confirmations that come before you even finish the question. This is what happens when you host revelation instead of rushing past it. It's not loud because it doesn't need to be. The same way dew doesn't ask permission to land, my truth doesn't require theatrics. It only requires attention. So tune your focus now. Don't brush off what seems too subtle. Journal what feels too simple. Listen closely to repeated impressions. Return to verses you once overlooked. Hidden within them are keys I've reserved for your current position. Every drop has purpose. Every word will feed something new. And in time, what was once a quiet soaking will grow roots that anchor you in clarity while others chase shadows. Let the dew fall. Let it remain. Let it sink. What settles now will steady you later, when winds return and questions swirl. You will panic. You won't scatter. You'll stand, drenched in wisdom, carrying insight not earned but entrusted. And from that place, you'll begin to speak differently, move differently, discern differently, because those who receive revelation at dawn walk with authority at noon. You are drenched now, truth has seeped into every silent corner, so do not let this fresh wisdom stagnate in secret vaults of contemplation. Revelation is a living currency designed for circulation, not collection. Hide it, and it will sour like manna hoarded overnight. Release it, and it produces exponential yield that feeds far beyond your household. Picture a seed cracked open by morning moisture. If it never meets soil, its promise dies inside its shell. The insight I've entrusted you is that seed. Plant it quickly, plant it in conversations with hungry souls, in decisions waiting on clarity, in frameworks aching for renovation. Do not fear that you will squander holy insight by acting prematurely. Timidity is waste in disguise. Action guided by my spirit is stewardship. Every minute you hesitate, doubt begins to weave webs, wrapping revelation in threads of what-ifs until movement feels risky and postponement feels wise. Reject that false prudence. I did not whisper merely to inspire another journal page. I spoke so that systems would shift and people would awaken. Begin by translating what you've heard into reachable steps. Do not attempt to unveil the entire blueprint at once. Pour out portions as bread for today's travelers. Revelation operates like loaves and fish. Break it, bless it, distribute it, and watch it grow in the giving. Speak a sentence during a strategy meeting that redirects an entire project. Write one clear paragraph that reframes decades of tradition. Offer a single affirmation to someone drowning in uncertainty and witness their countenance rise. These seemingly modest deposits ripple into reservoirs you cannot map. Remember, I am Lord of compound interest. I add my exponential to your obedient little. But investing revelation is not solely external, it is deeply personal. Reshape your routines before advising others. Let new light write the architecture of your priorities. Restructure budgets to reflect kingdom generosity. Reorganize calendars to honor rest. Adjust conversations so grace becomes the default dialect. When onlookers notice the coherence between your words and rhythms, credibility blooms and revelation's return increases. Hypocrisy, however subtle, bankrupts spiritual capital faster than persecution. Therefore, audit yourself often. Does your usage of time, talent, and tenderness align with what you now know? If gaps appear, close them promptly. Integrated living turns insight into authority. Expect resistance. Every seed planted invites birds, weeds, and weather. Critics will challenge motives. Cynics will demand exhaustive proofs. Comfort addicts will brand urgency as recklessness. Smile and keep sowing. Stones hurled at a sower rarely strike soil deep enough to stop the harvest. Your role is distribution. Outcome belongs to me. Some ground will appear barren, yet months later you will hear testimonies blooming from that very place. Others will sprout quickly, then wither. Do not mourn temporary shoots. They serve to embolden your obedience. Persevere past surface metrics and trust the long arithmetic of eternity. Be strategic with partnership. Revelation thrives in covenant circles where accountability refines and sharpens it. Seek companions who respond, not with applause alone, but with additional angles, prophetic questions, and willingness to labor alongside. Bring your portion, receive theirs, and merge insights into a tapestry that neither of you could weave solo. A braided cord of collective revelation can tow generational burdens that single strands snap under. Yet guard against parasitic alliances, those who consume insight for spectacle while refusing transformation. Love them, but limit access until fruit follows curiosity. Most importantly, stay connected to the source. Fresh revelation will always outpace yesterday's understanding. Do not rely on stale downloads. What you've planted today will necessitate new instructions tomorrow, just as farmers consult the sky every season though they sowed faithfully the year before. Keep listening, keep planting, keep rotating fields so soil never exhausts. Celebrate each harvest with gratitude, but resist museum building around old displays of insight. Monuments to past moments become idols that block tomorrow's rainfall. Move swiftly, therefore. Let numbers become blueprints, let blueprints become buildings, let buildings become beacons. The dew that settled on you at dawn was never meant to evaporate under idle sun. It must soak into ground hungry for direction. Spend revelation like a daring investor who trusts the market of heaven's promises. Guaranteed return. Pressed down, shaken together, running over into every sphere I assign to your influence. Obey fast, sow wide, reap eternal. Do not be startled when fresh understanding triggers turbulence. Growth always broadcasts its coordinates to forces invested in maintaining stagnation. The moment your insight pushes roots into practical soil, countercurrents awaken, sniffing for vulnerabilities. Hear me. This is not a sign you misheard. It is confirmation you struck the correct vein of destiny. Soldiers on the front line never mistake the whistle of incoming arrows for personal failure. They recognize it as proof they have advanced beyond enemy comfort zones. Adopt the same perspective. Ready yourself proactively rather than reactively. Study the terrain of your thought life the way seasoned generals inspect maps before dawn. Identify low walls where discouragement could vault. Reinforce gates where distraction might slip through disguised as opportunity. Stack reserves of truth like rations so your courage never runs on fumes. Anticipation is not paranoia. It is wisdom wearing armor before dawn breaks. Let joy be your counterintuitive shield. Nothing disorients darkness more than a warrior who laughs under fire. That laughter is not denial of difficulty. It is a declaration that outcomes were settled before skirmishes began. You are anchored beyond the visible theater, tethered to promises inked in permanence. Smile deliberately when accusations surge. Your grin signals heaven's judicial verdict already favors you. Whisper gratitude when schedules tangle. Your calm becomes a snare for chaos, causing it to trip over its own urgency. Sing softly as you revise plans. Melody fractures intimidation, the way a gentle breeze can unmake fog clinging to valleys. This is strategic gladness, not shallow positivity. Each note, each chuckle, each lifted brow broadcasts to invisible observers that you remain unconquered at the core. Equip language for confrontation. Resist the reflex to explain revelation to every skeptic. Explanation can morph into entanglement. Instead, rehearse concise declarations rooted in what I have stated, not what circumstances predict. When an obstacle rises, answer with, "The blueprint came from the architect who already factored this ridge into the route." When resources tighten, decree, "Provision shadows obedience. Where I step next, supply will greet me." Keep sentences short, sword sharp. Long speeches drain stamina. Precise truth pierces quicker. Train your tongue until reflex responses align with eternal perspective rather than emotional weather reports. Words form battlements around thought patterns, and adversaries expend energy scaling those walls instead of breaching your peace. Attune your body as well. Fatigue fives discernment. Resistance loves a weary target. Hydrate, stretch, rest when prompted. Sacred assignment does not glorify burnout. It models rhythm. Even archers loosen bowstrings at night lest tension warp wood. Treat your physiology like a vessel carrying royal dispatches. It deserves maintenance. And do not isolate. While solitude refuels discernment, prolonged seclusion provides unchecked ground for stealth attacks. Curate a council of aligned voices, people who won't flinch at incoming fire, who remind you of perspective when echoes of doubt ricochet through your mind. One vigilant friend standing shoulder to shoulder repels more darkness than a lonely hero swinging wildly in the night. Remember covert tactics. Resistance seldom marches in obvious regalia. It creeps in through offended ego, repackaged nostalgia, flattery dripping with compromise, sympathy that invites self-pity to unpack bags. Investigate sudden weariness. Is it physical or spiritual? Audit offer that promise sort of vehement conscience cause. Pause when nostalgia urges retreat to galaxy you outgrew. Comfort zones often disguise chains. Treat internal tension as early warning radar, prompting prayer rather than panic. The spirit will highlight details, an offhand comment, a lingering atmosphere, a subtle shift in someone's demeanor. Don't obsess, but don't ignore. Respond with succinct prayer, recalibrated boundaries, or timely silence. Small course corrections now prevent shipwreck later. When pushback escalates, elevate perspective again. You are not alone, peace hunted on a crowded board. You are accompanied by majesty who sees beyond the next move to the checkmate already scripted. Resistance, no matter how loud, remains time-bound. Revelation, once embodied, extends past centuries. Engage conflicts with that chronology in view. Ask, will this skirmish matter in light of a 1,000-year horizon? Often the answer shrinks drama to dust. For crises that do carry generational impact, lean deeper into directives I have stored in your spirit. Those instructions might appear counterlogical. Retreat here, advance there, bless where flesh wants to rebut. Obedience is the master tactic, bewildering forces that rely on predictable flesh reactions. Document victories meticulously. Each resolved clash becomes precedent law in your internal court, streamlining verdicts for future hearings. Return to these records when new storms gather. Familiarity with triumph breeds reflex confidence. And should a battle scar your skin, display the mark as testimony, not trauma. Scars tell enemies their weapons failed to stop momentum. They tell onlookers perseverance is possible. They tell you my hand never left the hilt shielding your heart. Finally, celebrate mid-campaign. Waiting for final conquest before rejoicing starves morale. Throw small feasts of gratitude at mile markers, coffee with a friend after a tense negotiation, a walk beneath stars following answered prayer, a journal entry painted in vivid color because you refused to cave. These micro-celebrations sprinkle confetti in trenches, making boredom impossible for cynicism perched nearby. So stand alert, smile sharp, speak true, care for your frame, stay linked, note the pattern, feast often. Anticipation fueled by revelation will keep resistance from hijacking momentum. Warfare is real, but so is early victory secured each time you greet conflict not with dread, but with confident joy anchored in the one who scripted the conclusion before the story began. Now that you've seen the pressure rise, do not make the mistake of withdrawing into solitary strength. There is no such thing in my kingdom. The battles ahead require covenant, not independence. You were never designed to carry the full weight of assignment alone. Even the strongest torch burns out when wind is relentless, but when flames gather, they create a furnace that cannot be quenched by any gust, no matter how fierce. Unity is not optional, it is strategic defense. You may feel confident alone, but confidence without connection can become brittle. The resistance you've begun to feel is not just yours to confront. It's a signal to close ranks, to link arms with those who carry the same flame, who speak the same sound, who discern the hour like you do. There is strength in synchronized movement. The enemy studies gaps, not just hearts. He listens for isolated footsteps and aims his darts at those walking just far enough from the group to be missed when they stumble. So now is the moment to press in. Not just into me, but into those I've sent to walk with you. Trust me when I say, you are not the only one burning with vision, trembling under the weight of revelation, or rising through levels of unexpected warfare. There are others strategically placed, divinely timed, who will recognize your voice before they even see your face. Their spirits will leap when you speak. Their words will fit like puzzle pieces into the blueprint I've shown you. But you must make the move. Pride will whisper that you can do it all. Past wounds will echo warnings about betrayal. Misunderstandings may arise, but none of that is stronger than obedience. Reach out anyway. Forgive anyway. Invite anyway. Clarify the misunderstanding. Build the bridge. Restore what was neglected. Because what's coming demands reinforced bonds. These are not just friendships, I'm forming alliances that will weather prophetic storms and release joint anointing. You each carry a portion, but together, you release the weight. What one ignites, another shields. What one discerns, another declares. What one dreams, another designs. This is multiplication beyond what talent can fabricate. This is my spirit knitting hearts into a shared heartbeat that will outlast trends and outpace opposition. And when unity is forged in my presence, it becomes a sound the darkness cannot decode. Hell is baffled by harmony. But when I see my children linking shields, I release favor not on the individual, but on the agreement. That's where the oil flows down the head, across the shoulders, onto the body. This oil will not touch lone ambition. It falls uncovered. And yes, unity will cost you. It will require flexibility. It will test your ego. It will challenge your assumptions. But the reward will silence every sacrifice. For in the heat of resistance, you will discover that the warmth of community is not just comfort, it's clarity. You will hear me more clearly in the council of surrendered friends. You will feel me more powerfully in a room filled with honest worshipers. You will see me more vividly when you stop competing and start completing each other. And when one whips, another will walk. When one hesitates, another will propel. When one stumbles, another will stabilize. This is how my body functions: connected, coordinated, covering. So identify the ones I've sent. They may not look like what you imagined. They may not speak the same dialect or move at the same pace. But watch their fruit. Test their spirit. Look for my fingerprint on their lives. When you find them, tighten the bond. Be intentional with communication. Be quick to reconcile. Be humble in correction. Be generous with encouragement. And be faithful in intercession. Because the furnace I'm building requires multiple flames. And where unity remains, my fire falls. The world will recognize me not just by your miracles but by your love for one another. So build this fire. Stoke it with loyalty. Feed it with honor. Protect it from comparison. And let its heat prepare the way for what I am about to unleash through you, not alone, but together. Now that you stand inside the blaze not meant to consume but to cleanse, let this truth settle deeply. You are being shaped, not scorched. The intensity you feel is not punishment, it is precision. I am not dismantling you. I am burning away what was never supposed to travel with you into the future I've prepared. This heat is holy. It is sacred. It is intentional. Every flare of discomfort, every sting of delay, every unexpected confrontation, it all serves a higher purpose. You asked me to use you, and I am answering not with platforms but with process. I'm purifying the parts of you that could fracture under pressure if left untreated. I see beyond where you stand. I see who you must become to stand where I'm sending you next. Refining does not rush. The flames stay until the impurities rise to the surface. So if you're seeing attitudes surface, wounds reveal themselves, motives you thought were buried float upward, rejoice. This is not regression. This is exposure meant for healing. You cannot cast out what you hide. You cannot grow from what you confront. And I love you too deeply to allow you to carry secret fractures into public places. That's why this fire is fierce, but also why it's controlled. I have my hand on the thermostat. I know exactly how much pressure to allow and when to lift it. I know when to press, when to pause, when to comfort, and when to correct. You're not abandoned in this furnace, you're accompanied. But here's what must be understood. If you try to exit too early, what I intended to strengthen will instead stay soft, vulnerable to collapse under future weight. You may be able to fake gifting, but you cannot fake endurance. You may impress others with flashes of charisma, but only character sustains calling. And character is not formed in applause, it's forged in adversity. It's hammered in honesty. It's shaped in solitude. It's solidified in seasons where you feel invisible yet obedient. When no one is clapping. When no one is texting. When no doors are opening, but your devotion remains intact. That's where gold is born. And when the time is right, I'll remove you from the flames, not with smoke and ashes clinging to you, but with a shine that doesn't fade. People will see resilience they can't explain. They'll hear authority in your voice that doesn't come from education or opportunity, but from encounter. You'll speak with weight because you've walked through fire and didn't curse me. You'll lead with gentleness because you remember how it felt to be broken. You'll carry others carefully because you know how delicate transformation truly is. That's the kind of leader I'm forming. That's the kind of vessel I can trust with more. Do not envy the quick rises of others who skip the fire and chase the stage. Their foundations are fragile. But yours is being laid in the depths. Quietly, thoroughly. And no storm can shake what I build with fire-tested faith. The furnace does not produce perfection, it produces purity. And in that purity, there is clarity. You begin to discern what truly matters. You no longer chase noise. You no longer crave validation. You begin to move with intentionality, speak with purpose, walk with compassion, and live with conviction. This is the version of you I'm drawing out. So stay in the process. Embrace the heat. Let it work. Don't fight the pruning. Don't despise the stillness. Don't flee the pressure. Instead, lean into it with trust, knowing that everything uncomfortable right now is evidence that something eternal is being formed inside you. I am refining you not to diminish you, but to reveal the brilliance I placed within you before the world ever named you. Gold doesn't fear the fire, it proves itself in it. And so will you. When I bring you out, you won't just shine. You'll carry a fire that others can warm themselves by. Not a flame of pride, but of purpose. Not one of performance, but of purity. This is what the furnace was for. Let it finish its work. You're not losing yourself here, you're becoming who I always knew you were. Now that your interior has been tested and truth has been etched into your foundation, you are ready for what many crave but few can carry without fracture: influence. Not popularity, not exposure, not attention. Influence. The quiet power to shape decisions, to redirect narratives, to inspire obedience, to nudge people toward their original design. This weight is not given lightly. It is not granted for applause, it is assigned for responsibility. And because I've trusted you with more, I now require more from you. You must treat every word, every gesture, every choice a seed, because it is. Whether you know it or not, eyes are on you now. Hearts are listening not just to what you say, but how you live when no one is asking questions. Some will follow your shadow before they hear your sermon. And the shadow you cast must align with the light you claim to reflect. Stewardship is not about control, it's about care. It is the ongoing, intentional maintenance of what I place under your reach. If you treat your influence casually, it will drift into ambition. If you handle it selfishly, it will become manipulation. If you forget that it was birthed in the furnace, it will be swallowed by ego. That's why I bring this warning with tenderness. Protect the influence I've placed upon you, not for your sake alone, but for the ones watching you silently. You do not know who is hanging on your consistency. You cannot see who is building faith in the quiet corners of their battles because your endurance gave them language for hope. Your life is more visible than you realize, and that visibility must be matched with intentionality. This is the time to evaluate every platform you occupy. Are you using your voice to elevate truth or echo convenience? Are your messages leading others toward freedom or drawing them closer to imitation? Influence is not maintained by charisma. It is cultivated by integrity. If your influence grows faster than your surrender, it will eventually choke itself with its own reach. So let me examine your motives constantly. Let me correct you quickly. Let me interrupt your momentum when it drifts from alignment. Because if you cling to me in every season of expansion, what I build through you will outlive applause and withstand scandal. I'm not interested in momentary platforms, I'm building generational altars. You must also recognize that stewardship over influence means saying no more often than yes. Every invitation is not an assignment. Every spotlight is not a green light. Every collaboration is not a calling. Learn to discern not just what is good, but what is right for you. You do not owe anyone your availability if it compromises your authenticity. Guard your time. Guard your presence. Not out of fear, but from ire. If I've entrusted you with influence, it means I've also authorized you to protect it. You are not being difficult when you draw boundaries, you are being wise. And wisdom preserves legacy. Watch how you carry authority in conversations. Influence doesn't always look like leading crowds. Often it means being the one voice in a room who doesn't compromise. It means holding your values when the pressure to bend becomes intense. It means being the example that doesn't shift with trend or opinion. You are not called to be loud, you are called to be clear. Let your clarity speak for itself. When the weight of your character matches the width of your reach, fruit begins to multiply in ways marketing can't manufacture. And that fruit speaks on your behalf. Finally, remember, this influence is not yours to boast about, it's mine to shine through. I loan it to the humble. I increase it in the hands of the faithful. I sustain it in those who return the glory back to me every single time. Keep your heart soft, your focus sharp, your motives pure. Live as though every decision echoes beyond your lifetime. Because it does. And when I find you faithful in this level of influence, I will expand your territory, not just in numbers, but in depth, in trust, in heaven's endorsement. And what I endorse, no man can cancel. Steward it well. I'm watching how you walk now, not to judge, but to see how far I can take you next. The moment you resolve to manage influence with fear-trembling care, I pivot you toward terrains where ordinary logic drowns, because revelation must now mature into radical pursuit. Look out, whitecaps thrash, thunder rolls, opinions swirl like spray, and familiar markers sink beneath waves of uncertainty. Do not anchor to what can be swallowed. Anchor to the path my feet carve across the chaos. Yes, it defies physics, but faith is a higher science. Squint through the salt mist until you discern the faint shimmer of prints that neither sink nor scatter. They move steadily forward, indifferent to wind reports. That is your map. Every stride I take carries coordinates coded for your spirit alone. Latitude of timing, longitude of obedience, altitude of trust. Step when I step, stop when I pause. Attempt shortcuts and you will feel undertow tugging ankles. Hesitate and rogue swells will slap doubt against your ribs. Momentum now depends on microsecond responsiveness. Listen for the subtle hush preceding each wave. That silence is me signaling advance. Lift your foot even before logic calculates buoyancy. I promise greater works, but they manifest only where courage overrides equilibrium. I've stacked stagators on safer decks to shout caution, quote statistics, measure wind speed, recount shipwreck tales. Bless them, but don't board their vessel. They navigate by fear's compass, and fear calls anything heavier than comfort impossible. Yet you carry assignment weightless in grace, designed to glide atop variables the natural mind labels fatal. Keep eyes locked on the luminous imprint ahead. Even moonless nights cannot erase its glow, for my trajectory contains self-illumination. When lightning flashes, you may glimpse unexpected predators beneath old addictions' opening jaws, ancestral curses circling like dorsal fins. Do not stare downward. Predators thrive on attention. Maintain vertical focus. My footprints form invisible shields. Beneath each step lies a force field paralyzing everything that lurks below. Wagon. Feel the water rise to your shins, then subside. These swells are not threats, but tests confirming you still choose me over comfort. Feel spray/cheeks. Let it remind you baptism isn't a one-time ritual but a continual immersion into dependence. Each droplet hissing off your robe sings, he sustains. Whisper back, I agree. Agreement deepens imprint visibility. The more you declare alignment, the brighter the path pulses beneath you, turning glassy black into a runway of liquid crystal. And as you progress, you'll notice side currents, opportunities glittering like gold coins tossed across the surface. Resist detours. Many are decoys minted in hell's treasury, designed to weight pockets until you sink. The richest treasure here is trajectory itself. Timing is tidal. Miss one print and the pattern shifts beyond reach. Better to look foolish running empty-handed behind my rhythm than to shine briefly beneath deck lights clutching counterfeit gains. Remember to breathe synchronized with waves. Inhale revelation when crest lifts you skyward. Exhale worship as trough lowers you for the next stride. That rhythm converts panic into propulsion, turning each descent into springboard. Soon your steps will rhyme with mine so fluently that footprints merge, indistinguishable. That is union, not disappearance of identity, but perfect overlay of purpose. People watching from fractured rafts will gasp at the impossible dance unfolding, and some will plunge after you, desperate for the same defiance of gravity. When they sputter, stretch a hand without losing cadence. Your steadiness becomes invitation. But never shift gaze from my back to their chaos. If you sink, both drown. Lead by following. I will not promise ease, I promise certainty. The storm may worsen into shrieking walls of water, but prints will widen into platforms when gales peak. Stand, sing, spy fresh horizons while decks behind still pitch. Your vantage will birth strategies unimagined in calm. Capture them like photographs on your soul's retina. Later they will unpack into blueprints for those rebuilding after tempest. Yet for now, step because prints extend farther, and destinations hint at islands no chart records. Horizon dark or dazzling, do not seek shoreline. Seek the next glowing indentation. Each settles only long enough for you to land, then diffuses behind, preventing retreat. Grace eliminates reverse gear, forward is home. So tighten cloak, Steady heartbeat match my stride. Leave no gap between whisper and response. We walk on water tonight not to perform, but to prove that elements bow to covenant, that storms escort visionaries, that stewardship graduates into impossible travel when feet trust imprints etched by the eternal. As you press onward, your lips begin to sting with the salt carried in the wind, not just from the sea, but from the trail of emotion left behind. It's more than water. It's memory. Each drop of sorrow you've cried has been collected, not ignored. Not one tear fell unnoticed. Not one moment of quiet pain, silent confusion, or desperate longing went unseen. The sea beneath your feet carries them all, your tears, your ancestors' groans, your private collapses, your midnight pleadings. And yet here you are, not drowning in the waters that once threatened to consume you, but walking upon them because I spoke a word over what once crushed you. That taste on your tongue is not just salt, it's testimony. A flavor your spirit remembers even when your mind forgets the details. I tell you now, your pain has been preserved for purpose. I never discard what you offer in vulnerability. I never belittle the weight of grief. I use it. I transform it. I infuse it into the very atmosphere you now walk through. You once asked why the road had to be so long, why the detours so difficult, why the heartbreaks came in waves. But now the sea itself tells the story, each tear added depth, and I parted them all. The waters carry your history, but they no longer control your direction. You are not swept by their force. You walk by my word. I want you to let that revelation sink and really taste it. Let it touch the raw places that still ache for closure. Let it minister to the disappointment you buried beneath bravery. Because I'm not done healing you, even while I'm leading you. You don't have to wait until the journey ends to feel whole. In fact, your wholeness increases with each step forward. Every time your foot lifts in obedience, I restore something inside that trauma tried to fracture. I'm redeeming you, not after the storm, but inside of it. I'm not just the God who waits at the finish, I'm the one holding you in motion, steadying your pace as you digest everything you thought you'd never survive. Even the salt you taste now is holy. Don't despise it. It's a reminder that you're not numb anymore, that your heart, though once bruised, still beats, that your spirit still yearns, still hopes, still believes. The flavor is sharp because it's pure, untouched by sugar-coated answers or counterfeit comforts. You didn't take the shortcut. You went through the middle. And now the sea that once towered above you is under your feet, and your mouth tells the truth of that victory. That sting on your tongue, it's the edge of the miracle, the last trace of what was, being transformed as you walk into what is. Don't fear new tears, they won't ruin you. They'll baptize you again in dependence. Each one shed in my presence becomes part of the foundation you're walking on. The sea isn't here to intimidate, it's here to remember. And when you feel the next wave of emotion rise up, when your eyes fill again, not from weakness, but from sacred recognition, I want you to let it flow. Because you're not weeping over loss anymore. You're weeping over what I've restored. What you've endured has not gone to waste. It's been sown into the rhythm of your footsteps, woven into the sound of your surrender, embedded in the very path others will follow behind you. You may not know it now, but someone else's breakthrough will come through your journey. They'll trace your steps in their own storm, taste that same salt, and suddenly realize they're not alone. That the ocean they feared is the same one you crossed. That the tears they shed are not foreign to me, they are familiar, because I've carried yours too. You're not just walking through water, you're charting a way where no one thought a path could exist. So keep moving. Taste and remember. Each drop that once fell in silence is now a part of this holy sea beneath your feet. I parted it then. I'm holding it now. And I will continue to carry you through, until what once tasted like loss becomes the flavor of victory no one can deny. Now that the salt of remembrance coats your tongue with proof of victory, open your mouth wide, no timid whisper, no cautious hum, release a trumpet blast that slices through the thick haze clinging to desperate minds around you. Your voice carries resonance forged in storms, tempered in furnaces, steadied on water. It is uniquely calibrated to shatter ambiguities that have paralyzed territories still waiting for dawn. Speak without shrinking, because hesitation dilutes the frequency heaven designed for you to wield. The moment you declare what I have shown you in private, atmospheres begin to reorganize, foggy motives crystallize, secret agendas surface, hidden wounds reveal their roots, and demonic interference loses its camouflage. You are not merely encouraging people, you are recalibrating spiritual barometers, forcing environments to align with truth's exact pressure. Notice how confusion scrambles when confronted by tone untainted by self-promotion. It cannot negotiate with a messenger who has nothing left to prove. But before you sound, tune the trumpet. Purge residues of bitterness. Less sour notes distort revelation into accusation. Let humility oil the valves so every syllable flows smoothly, free of friction that would distract listeners from the message. Then inhale courage seasoned with compassion. Prophetic clarity is never a blade for vanity but a scalpel for liberation. When sharp words proceed from a tender heart, they cut shackles without lacerating souls. Remember, I did not preserve your life through fire and flood to unleash a reckless siren. Your call must bear healing frequencies even while it convicts. Maintain that tension, bold yet gentle, urgent yet patient, unwavering yet merciful. When the moment arrives, whether standing before crowds, sending a single text, praying over a trembling friend, or posting a sentence that pulses with light, release it. Feel vibrations surge from diaphragm to atmosphere like ripples overlapping ripples, until unspoken questions hanging above boardrooms, bedrooms, and back alleys receive sudden definition. Some will resist. Clarity exposes comforts built on ambiguity. Expect pushback from systems thriving on blurred boundaries. Do not retreat. Trumpets are designed for announcement, not negotiation. Blow again if resistance thickens. Consistency amplifies impact the way repeated shofar blasts topple Jericho's pride-soaked walls. And watch this. As you sound, alignment accelerates. People suffering under competing narratives will experience internal click-spears finally interlocking after grinding and confusion. They will weep, not from sorrow, but from the sharp relief of certainty. Others will rage because your sound threatens lucrative chaos. Bless them. Keep sounding. Let backlash prove accuracy. Truth seldom walks corridors of human applause unscathed. Yet while critics draft rebuttals, freedom will already be sprinting down streets once gridlocked by doubt. That is the power of unfiltered proclamation. Do not fear being labeled extreme. Mediocrity always brands precision as radical. Nor fear mistakes. Correction is welcome in a teachable spirit. And I am skilled at refining volume without muting passion. The greater danger is muting yourself preemptively. Silence in the face of divine urgency partners with deception. Break that treaty. Lay every insecurity on the altar and let the trumpet rest where self-consciousness once sat. I will guard your tone when motive stays surrendered. Be strategic with breath. Trumpet blasts are unsustainable if lungs never refill. Withdraw with me between declarations, refill on scripture, worship, laughter, rest so fatigue never flattens pitch into cynicism. A hoarse herald harms as much as a silent one. Rhythm matters. Speak, recharge, speak, recharge. This cadence mirrors heaven's thunder followed by hush, lightning preceded by stillness. In the quiet intervals, I will sharpen phrases, highlight moments, reveal names, cities, policies, systems that need the next blast tailored like a key to a lock. Obedience in timing makes fewer words carry greater weight. Equip the next generation to trumpet to. Hand them mouthpieces fashioned from your testimonies. Teach embouchure of integrity, breath control of prayer, repertoire of scripture. Let them practice beside you until harmony forms a multi-layered fanfare echoing across decades you will never walk but have already influenced. Your singular tone becomes symphony when reproduced in surrendered successors. Hell trembles at multi-generational resonance. Finally, never forget why you trumpet, not to display lungs but to unveil paths. Every note must point to the king whose word carved the prince you follow. When applause comes, bend it upward. When doors open, Usher his presence first. When captives cheer, redirect them to the deliverer. Keep this calibration, and your voice will never tarnish into mere noise. It will remain a polished instrument through which prophetic clarity travels unimpeded, cutting confusion today, sculpting destiny tomorrow, reverberating through eternity as evidence that a once-weeping walker on water chose to sound the alarm without apology. And now that your voice has awakened dormant places and unsettled hidden darkness, you will be confronted by a new invitation, one that won't roar like thunder but whisper like wind. Extend mercy. Not because they asked, not because they apologized, but because freedom becomes permanent when it is not just received but given. You must understand this in the deepest chambers of your being. Justice belongs to me, but healing is something I share with those bold enough to forgive. You've walked through storms, carried clarity into chaos, spoken words that rearranged atmospheres. But now I ask you to do what your flesh may resist: unclench your hand from the stones you've been justified to throw. Not because they didn't wound you, not because it didn't hurt, but because if you don't release it, your next season will be anchored to the very betrayal you were meant to overcome. Mercy is not forgetting. Mercy is remembering through redemption's lens. It is choosing not to be defined by what they did, but by what I did in you afterward. It is seeing their face and choosing not to mirror their cruelty, but reflect my compassion. I am not asking you to pretend it didn't happen. I am asking you to look at it and declare, this pain will not reproduce itself through me. That is how cycles end. Not when revenge is served, but when mercy interrupts the expected pattern. You have more power than you realize, not to destroy, but to disarm. To disarm bitterness before it becomes a fortress. To disarm legacy wounds that pass from one mouth to the next like inheritance. To disarm your own heart before it hardens into distrust. You may be tempted to call mercy weakness, but make no mistake, mercy is war. It is the kind of war that heaven wins. It is the violent resistance against bitterness, against the whisper that says they must pay, against the ancient lie that tells you your healing depends on their punishment. That is not the kingdom I'm building in you. My kingdom comes when the offended one chooses to bless, when the cursed one chooses to speak peace, when the misunderstood one offers a table instead of a courtroom. That's when heaven invades the earth, not through thunder, but through a choice that echoes louder than any accusation. I know what you're thinking. What if they never change? What if they do it again? What if showing mercy makes me a target for more betrayal? I tell you now, your mercy is not weakness, it's seed. And every seed sown in mercy carries resurrection power. You may not see it bloom today. You may never see it in them. But it will rise somewhere, somehow. It will rise in your children. It will rise in your peace. It will rise in your health. It will rise in the softness of your heart when others grow cold. Mercy multiplies where retaliation diminishes. And where mercy reigns, I reign. But this doesn't mean there are no boundaries. Mercy does not erase wisdom. You can release someone without re-inviting them into the place they abused. You can forgive someone without placing the weight of trust back on their shoulders. Trust is rebuilt over time. Mercy is given in a moment. One is earned. The other is gifted. Don't confuse the two. Mercy is not staying silent about abuse or enabling toxic patterns. Mercy is looking the offense in the eye and choosing not to let it dictate your identity. It's saying, you hurt me, but you don't own me. You disappointed me, but you don't define me. I let you go, not because you're right, but because I refuse to carry your wrong into my future. And when you do this, when you extend what is undeserved, you mirror me more closely than any sermon you'll ever preach. I did not wait for you to deserve my blood. I gave it while you were still rejecting me. That is the mercy you've received. Now release it. Send the text. Say the prayer. Burn the grudge. Bless them, even if your voice shakes. Do it trembling. Do it crying. Do it slowly if you must. But do it. Because mercy is movement. And this movement carries you out of your past, out of your wounds, and straight into territory the enemy cannot access, because no vengeance lives there. Let the trumpet echo fade into the wind, and let the sound that follows be even louder. The quiet power of mercy rising like a banner over your life, declaring to every watching power and principality, this one has been made new. This one is no longer bound by what was done. This one is a carrier of heaven's justice, clothed in mercy, moving forward with clean hands and a free heart. This one is unstoppable. This one is mine. You've laid down the stones of retaliation. You've released the names that echoed in pain. You've spoken mercy where curses were expected. Now comes the holy instruction that requires not your eloquence, but your endurance. It is time to build not just concepts or visions in your imagination, but tangible movements, structures, systems, atmospheres that bear the imprint of your obedience. I did not deliver you simply so you could survive. I delivered you so you could design. There is territory waiting to be shaped by your fingerprints, and no one else can build it but you, not because others are incapable, but because they weren't anointed for this blueprint. This part of your journey won't be glamorous. The crowd won't be cheering. Your hands will blister. Your back will ache. Your name might not be celebrated. But that's how you'll know you're in the center of my will, because heaven often builds in silence, beneath the surface, with tools the world calls foolish. Pick up the hammer of discipline. Grip the nails of consistency. Measure twice, cut once, and anchor every structure in obedience, not ambition. This is not the time to wait for ideal circumstances. This is the time to obey while it's still uncomfortable, still inconvenient, still unclear. The raw materials may not look like much now, scraps of what was left after the storm, but I will teach you how to repurpose every loss into load-bearing strength. You must understand that this construction is not external only. You are also the project. The discipline you apply to what you're building must mirror the attention you give to what's happening inside of you. Every habit you refine, every thought you capture, every desire you surrender becomes part of the scaffolding. I will not let you build outwardly while you remain unsteady inwardly. That's why the delays you've experienced weren't punishment, they were realignments. I was reinforcing your inner foundation, because what I'm placing on top of you requires unshakable depth. If you skip this part, the weight of your calling will crush you instead of lifting others. This is also why you can't delegate this season. Yes, you will have helpers. Yes, I will send people to partner with the vision. But don't hand them what I've commanded you to touch directly. Some pieces require your personal blood, your midnight tears, your hands in the dirt. I want your fingerprints on the beams, your sweat in the mortar. Because when others walk into what you've built, I want the atmosphere to scream authenticity. They will feel the cost in the air, and it will create space for transformation that doesn't just inspire but delivers. There will be moments when your tools feel too small for the size of the assignment. Keep building. There will be voices telling you someone else could do it faster, better, louder. Keep building. There will be days when the progress feels invisible, when you wonder if anything is really happening beneath the surface. Keep building. Because I do my most holy work in hidden places, seeds buried in silence, prayers whispered in weakness, blueprints drawn in caves no one visits but me and you. Keep building. Because what you are erecting now will not just serve this generation, it will shelter the next one too. I also want you to build without comparison. The noise around you may be filled with metrics, numbers, growth strategies, and platforms. That's not your compass. Obedience is. If I ask you to build a tent while others are constructing towers, trust me, the tent may become a tabernacle where my presence lingers, while the tower collapses under its own pride. Your yes carries more weight than their applause. I don't need you to be impressive. I need you to be accurate. I don't need you to be faster. I need you to be faithful. Every brick placed with intention becomes a declaration that heaven is invading earth through your hands. And when the day comes, because it will, when someone stumbles into what you've built and finds peace they've never known, when a weary soul rests beneath the shade of your obedience, when a heart comes back to life because you didn't quit, then you'll understand why I didn't let you outsource it. You'll see it in their eyes. You'll hear it in their stories. You'll feel it in the stillness that follows their healing breath. And you'll know, this was worth every hammer swing, every lonely blueprint, every stretch of faith. Because you built what only you could build with me, through me, for me. And nothing constructed that way can ever be torn down. Now that your hands are shaping what I designed in the depths of your spirit, I must warn you with urgency. Every detail matters. The unseen moments matter most. It is possible to build something beautiful in appearance yet hollow in truth if the foundation hath been compromised. Do not let unseen erosion undo what public diligence appears to preserve. I am not merely watching what you're building, I am watching how. You can speak all the right phrases, use all the best tools, even consult wise voices, but if you allow a single crack in your integrity to remain untouched, time will expose it when weight begins to press. I am calling you now to examine your foundation with me, not for the sake of shame, but for the sake of sustainability. This is not about fear. This is about foresight. I want what you're creating to outlive you, to stand against the pressure of seasons you haven't entered yet, to host miracles that ripple through generations. And that kind of endurance is not born through charisma, it is forged through consecration. Consecrate your thoughts. Consecrate your motives. Consecrate even your routines. If you are building while entertaining hidden compromise, justifying small disobedience in private, excusing pride as confidence, minimizing bitterness while calling it wisdom, those invisible toxins will soak into the beams of your calling and make the whole structure vulnerable to collapse. You must also guard against the slow leak of comparison. Do not allow someone else's pace or platform to pressure you into cutting corners. Quick does not always mean secure. Wide does not always mean deep. Applause does not always mean anointed. I am not asking you to be the fastest or the loudest, I am asking you to be pure. Because purity preserves power. When your spirit is clean before me, your words carry authority even when spoken in whispers. But if you build with polluted intent, envy disguised as ambition, offense disguised as passion, then your work, no matter how effective it seems, will not carry eternal substance. You are not just building for results. You are building for glory. Mine, not yours. So walk the perimeter of your foundation often. Ask me to shine light into every corner. Invite me into the parts you'd rather not examine, the quiet resentment, the lingering wounds, the decisions you've made from fear instead of faith. Let me inspect the soil beneath your plans. Because sometimes, you're not failing, you're just planted in contaminated ground. And it is better to pause and purify than to rush and regret. Many have built fast, but few have lasted. I am not calling you to flash, I'm calling you to legacy. And you must also protect who you allow into the building process. Not every voice belongs in your inner circle. Not every hand should touch the holy work I've entrusted to you. Be kind to all, but discerning with access. Some will want to partner out of admiration, but admiration does not equal alignment. Others will appear supportive, yet carry motives that dilute the purity of what I'm birthing through you. Ask me for clarity before every alliance. Let me reveal intentions. Let me prune connections. Let me whisper when to say no, even if their offer seems helpful. Protect the vision like a seed, nourish it, shield it, and don't let foreign weeds entangle its roots. I'm also calling you to silence when needed. Everything you're building does not need to be announced. Let mystery be your shield. Let me unfold your progress in my timing. There is strength in secrecy, especially in a world that confuses exposure with success. What grows in silence is often strongest when revealed. I hid Moses before I raised him. I hid David before I crowned him. I even hid my son in Nazareth before I sent him into public purpose. If I'm keeping you hidden now, it's because your foundation is still curing. Don't interrupt that process with premature unveiling. Stay low. Stay surrendered. Let the secret place become your sanctuary. Let prayer be your plumb line. Let worship be your measuring tool. Keep listening. Keep obeying. And don't move just because the world is watching. Move only when I instruct. Then, When the winds come, and they will, and when the rain crashes, and it will, what you've built will not tremble. Because it won't be held together by applause or momentum or branding. It will be anchored in truth, carved in intimacy, and sealed by my breath. And nothing built on that foundation will ever fall. I need you to understand that everything I've asked you to build, cleanse, and secure wasn't just about your development, it was for those you haven't met yet. They are coming, and they won't look polished. They won't arrive with perfect timing or eloquent introductions. They will stumble in unannounced, broken by battles you've never fought, whispering questions you've already cried through. They will carry trauma like clothing, fear in their eyes, and silence louder than screams. They will not ask for permission to interrupt your day. They will be the fulfillment of the preparation I've been doing in you for years. What you've learned in silence, they will need in their storm. What you surrendered in secret, they will drink like water in their drought. And they will not wait for an altar. They will collapse in your presence because my spirit rests there. That is why I've been so firm with you. That is why I've repeated instructions, refined your habits, stripped away what felt good but lacked eternal purpose. It's not because I was angry, it's because I was equipping you to become a sanctuary in motion. I was never training you to be impressive, I was forming you into a safe place. A place where broken souls don't just survive but come back to life. You won't always have time to rehearse scripture, prepare sermons, or play worship music in the background. You will need to become the message. You will need to live the truth so deeply that when someone breathes near you, they inhale healing, even if you say nothing. And don't expect them to understand what you carry. Some will misread your stillness as pride, your authority as arrogance, your discernment as coldness. But I've not asked you to explain yourself, I've asked you to stay ready. Because when their moment of desperation arrives, it won't be your reputation that saves them, it will be my residue on you. The glow of obedience, the atmosphere you've curated, the fragrance of worship that lingers in your conversations. They will remember your name, they'll remember the way the heaviness broke when you simply listened without judgment. They'll recall how hope crept back into their voice when you spoke one sentence. And that will be more powerful than 1,000 rehearsed prayers. These unexpected visitors are not just people, they are assignments. Appointments etched in eternity long before you knew how to say yes to me. And while they may look fragile on the outside, they carry keys that unlock new realms in you. Some will test your compassion. Others will unlock your intercession. Some will provoke a deeper patience, and others will reveal the next layer of authority I've hidden within you. They will stretch you not out of alignment, but into new capacity. And if you resist their arrival, you'll also resist the expansion I've ordained for you. Do not prepare by decorating spaces, prepare by purifying atmospheres. Clear your inner house. Make room in your heart. Rid yourself of internal clutter, so that when they enter your presence, there's space for their tears, for their rage, for their confusion. Be a resting place, not a stage. They are not coming to be impressed, they are coming to be restored. So don't try to perform. Just remain surrendered. Let your past obedience speak louder than your current words. And when they ask why you were ready, when they wonder how you knew what to say, when they break and tremble in your arms, thinking it was coincidence, tell them, this moment was written long ago. I've been waiting for you before you even knew you were coming. What you're receiving now was paid for in nights of surrender, in days of hidden discipline, in seasons where I built something invisible with no one watching. You don't owe me anything, just let yourself heal. This is your new posture. Open arms, steady gaze, listening heart. The doors are no longer locked. The time of isolation is over. What you birthed in silence is ready to be shared. The visitors are coming not because you promoted what you built, but because heaven whispered your name into their need. Be found faithful. Be found whole. Be found available. Because I am sending them swiftly, and they will not come with warning but with